1988. I started as an independent producer. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1: The Old Man and the Dog. 1988. Weather: moderate snow. At the turn of winter and spring, it snowed again in Beijing. It should have been a good time for everything to revive, but Chen Shiping suffered the darkest moment of his life. Sitting in the corner, groaning and panting in pain, Chen Shiping felt a blood red in front of his eyes. It was not that his eyes were in trouble, but the blood on his forehead flowed into his eyes. At this moment, he suddenly understood the blood red in the last scene of the movie Red Sorghum. Hiss, it's so cruel. Chen Shiping raised his hand and gently touched the wound and immediately cried out in pain. The cold wind and snow drifted in through the broken window. Chen Shiping, who was about to sit up, sat back down again. At least the radiator behind him could give him a little warmth. He could not experience true love in the world and could only rely on the heater to warm his sad heart. Chen Shiping leaned on the heater, his eyes full of grayness. He had just paid off nearly 1 million foreign debts, and before he had time to relax, God played a joke on him. Traveled to a strange era, traveled to a rubbish body. In the previous life, in order to publish a book, I was fooled by an unscrupulous publisher to publish a book at my own expense, and then owed hundreds of thousands of foreign debts. Self-funded book publishing is a pit. But who would have thought that after finally paying off the debt, drinking and crying, I traveled through time and traveled to a rubbish body. Chen Shiping wanted to cry now, but he had no tears. Only the wound on his forehead was still bleeding, and tears were worthless. Chen Shiping really didn't understand why his original body had an iron rice bowl that everyone envied, but he didn't work hard, went out to fool around all day, gambled and hung out in dance halls, pretending to be a big shot. Spend money when you have money, borrow money when you don't have money. Later, he borrowed money to learn how to trade foreign exchange, and then he was cheated out of everything. Wouldn't it be good to be a small screenwriter in a film studio? This is the Beijing Film Studio. It's damned if you don't cherish your iron rice bowl job. Chen Shiping received those memories in his mind, and in the end he could only smile helplessly. This kid watched too many internal reference films and yearned for and envied the capitalist life abroad, and then that's it. Many people are like this these days. According to incomplete statistics, there were more than 80 actors, directors and the like who went abroad in the 1980s. If you take a stroll on the street, where you apply for visas in Shanghai, you will definitely meet female stars. This only counts the famous ones. There are even more unknown ones. Trying to go abroad is considered active and hard work, and the original body who just eats and waits for death is a piece of trash. If you really envy that kind of life, then save money to learn English, even if you can go abroad. After Chen Shiping despised the original body again in his heart, he also accepted the current reality. The facts are already like this, and he can only accept his fate. Just being beaten does not mean that the problem is solved. You still have to pay back the money you owe. If you don't pay it back, it will not be as simple as being beaten next time. These days, there are all kinds of people in the city. There are too many outsiders who come to make a living. There are several villages in the city. There are people who deal in foreign exchange, steal, and cheat, speculate, layoffs, loan sharks, and all kinds of people. Chen Shiping can't afford to offend those people. Now he has to think about how to pay back the money. More than 3,000 yuan is a deadly number in this era. You have to go without food or drink for 2 years to pay it back with your salary. How can you live like this? Chen Shiping has many ways to make money in his mind, but they either require capital or connections. He has none of them now, and it is impossible to rely on his former friends who eat, drink and have fun. Colleagues in the film studio are even more impossible. Chen Shiping was really in trouble for a while. After scanning the room, he laughed bitterly. All the valuable things in the house are gone. Those who just came to collect debts took them all away before leaving. This kind of start is not much better than starting with a bowl. At least Leo ZHU still has a bowl and doesn't owe any money. Chen Shiping rested for a while and got up from the ground. The wound on his forehead was still bleeding, but the blood on his face was dried by the cold wind and it fell off with a little effort. Chen Shiping looked at himself in the mirror and felt a little comforted. He looked okay and the wound should not leave a scar, but it has to be handled well. This face cannot be wasted. This is the only gift from the original body. In addition to being good looking, Chen Shiping also discovered his golden finger, that is, a very good memory. All the memories in his mind are like movies. I don't know if it is the original body's own or brought from the time travel, but it is always a good thing. The broken window is still blowing cold wind, and it is almost dark outside. Chen Shiping can also hear the movement of neighbors returning home from get off work outside, and the fragrant smell of food. I'm so hungry, but I don't have any money on me, and there is not even a dried noodle at home. If I can't even solve the problem of food and clothing, how can I solve the foreign debt of more than 3,000? Those debt collectors are so cruel. Chen Shiping carefully washed his face with cold water, simply treated the wound, and covered it with his hair before going out. I don't know if the factory clinic is closed, otherwise I can only go to the hospital outside. On the way to the clinic, Chen Shiping lowered his head all the way, not wanting people to see his embarrassed side. The original body was shameless, but he wanted to have face. The health center was closed. Chen Shiping was wrapped in a leather jacket that was not very warm. He felt that the snow today was colder than the North Pole. Chen Shiping shivered and went to the hospital outside. There was still 5.52 yuan in the inner pocket of the leather jacket, which should be enough to bandage the wound. When he arrived at the door of the hospital, Chen Shiping was bumped by an old man. The old man was wearing a dirty and grey coat. He said sorry to Chen Shiping several times before walking into the hospital. Chen Shiping didn't care. He ran to the outpatient clinic to simply treat the wound and spent 5 yuan. When he came out of the doctor's office, Chen Shiping's stomach grumbled a few times. Chen Shiping looked at the 52 yuan in his hand and felt that he was really at the end of the road. No friends, no family, no money. Now even having a full meal is a problem. Chen Shiping stood in the heated outpatient hall, feeling cold in his heart and empty in his stomach. Chen Shiping clenched the 50-cent coin in his hand, wrapped his clothes tightly, and prepared to buy a handful of noodles to go home for plain noodles. However, just as he was about to leave, he caught sight of the old man who had bumped into him. He stood at the door of the blood station and hesitated. His hands and feet were timid, his back was bent, and there was no light in his eyes. Finally, he turned around and left with tears in his eyes. Chen Shiping's steps to leave paused, staring at the old man's back in a daze. At this moment, he seemed to see Zhu Sangun. Chen Shiping lowered his head and looked at the banknotes he was holding tightly. He suddenly breathed a long sigh of relief and turned around and walked towards the blood station. 10 minutes later, Chen Shiping caught up with the old man outside the hospital. Without saying anything extra, he took him to eat a meal of stewed meat. In the steaming little shop, the aroma of stewed meat aroused people's appetite. The old man held the bowl and sipped it, and the tears on his face were eaten along with the stewed meat. Chen Shiping lowered his head suddenly and dared not look again, but found a dirty little white dog at his feet, with snow on its hair full of dirty water. It stood there thinly and dared not approach Chen Shiping. The puppy looked at Chen Shiping with its big black eyes and tried to stick out its tongue to please him. Its wet hair was still dripping with water, but it didn't move a single step and didn't shake its hair. Chen Shiping felt that he had done something sinful today. Why did he always encounter such things? When the sky was completely dim and dark, Chen Shiping left the stewed pork shop, holding a puppy in his arms, and the hunchbacked old man stood behind him and watched him leave. "Can I call you Bagam? You must be obedient in the future and live up to my buns." Chen Shiping looked at the puppy wrapped in the jacket and kept muttering. The snowflakes fell on his face and were licked by the puppy with its tongue. The snowflakes fell heavier and heavier, slowly landing on his shoulders and dyeing his black hair white, but his heart was warm. The world was not so strange anymore, and he had one more reason to love this world. Chapter 2. Don't die in the spring like a wild dog. The broken windows blew cold air into the house. Hachiko followed Chen Shiping, wagging his tail, watching him clumsily paste newspapers on the windows. Chen Shiping looked down and kicked him to the heater. "Who are you making fun of, you sloppy little dog? Knock, knock. Shipping, are you home?" There was a sudden knock on the door. Chen Shiping recognized the voice of his colleague Xiaobing from the film studio. "What's the matter?" Chen Shiping responded loudly, but had no intention of opening the door. The newspaper in his hand had not been pasted yet. If he let go now, all his efforts would be wasted, and he would be despised by Hachiko. What's more, the scene of the house being smashed and destroyed was really not suitable for people to see. Xiaobing outside the door did not wait for Chen Shiping to open the door. Thinking of the gossip he had just heard, he roughly guessed what was going on. "It's okay. Teacher Wang asked you to go to him tomorrow afternoon. You haven't been doing well recently. He might talk to you about work. Be careful." Xiaobing didn't say it too directly. After all, there are so many households in the dormitory building. It's better to save his face. There was silence outside the door for a moment. Chen Shiping sighed, turned his head, and looked at the door and said, "Thank you. Well, Shipping, when can you pay me back the 200 yuan you owe me? It's been half a year." Xiaobing's voice suddenly sounded again, interrupting Chen Shipping's unfinished thank you. Xiaobing was a little thin-skinned, but thinking of Chen Shipping's current situation, he gritted his teeth and said, "I'm not urging you on purpose. I'm getting married soon, and I need money everywhere. You see. I know. I'll pay you back at the end of the month. Even if I lost my job, I can't miss this month's salary." Hearing Chen Shipping's promise in the corridor, Xiaobing rubbed his hands and said a few more words, like "I'm not urging you on purpose" before leaving, as if he was the one who didn't pay back the money. As a cultured person, he was still a little thin-skinned. If it was Chen Shiping, he would have gone to ask for it long ago. The cold wind in the room gradually disappeared. Chen Shiping sat on the corner of the bed and breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't have to freeze to death like a wild dog tonight. Xiaobing just said to be careful. Talking about work is likely to be a problem of dismissal. He didn't go to work on time all day. He has been in the factory for almost a year and has not participated in any screenwriting work, whether it is solo creation or joint creation. He owes a lot of debts and is about to lose his job. These days are really getting more and more promising. "Hachiko, I don't know if it is good luck or bad luck to meet me, but I will definitely not let you starve in the future." Chen Shiping teased the puppy with his feet. The puppy also lay on the ground, revealing his bulging belly. He just ate 3 buns. "I hope I can feed Hachiko so that he is bulging and plump in the future." Chen Shiping teased the puppy for a while and then began to think about how to break the situation. It's like playing a game. The copy has been given, and the rest is to come up with a strategy and then execute it. Chen Shiping carefully analyzed the current situation. There is no need to rush to solve the more than 3,000 yuan. Let's talk about it after it stabilizes. The key is to deal with the accountability of the leader tomorrow. Otherwise you will lose your job and even lose your dormitory. By then, you will become a stray dog with Hachiko, freezing to death in the spring, when the flowers are about to bloom. It is not that difficult to solve the accountability of the leader at work, but time is a bit tight. Work problems are caused by attitude and output. The rules and regulations in the factory are not that strict, and it is normal for artists to be relatively lax. As long as you can produce works, there is no problem. The biggest problem of the original body is that there is no output. Before, the factory arranged for him to create a script with several colleagues, but he ran away halfway through the participation, and he has not done anything at work until now. Chen Shiping pondered for a while and thought of a way to solve the work problem. Show your attitude, show your results, and prove your ability and determination to turn back to the prodigal son to the leader. It was a long cold night. Chen Shiping was wrapped in a quilt and writing something at the desk. Hachiko under his feet had fallen asleep on his feet. In the end, Chen Shiping didn't remember when he fell asleep, and he just lay on the table to spend a hard night. That night he dreamed that he was happily eating hot pot at home with fragrant mutton and the boiling soup, and Hachiko gnawing on bones under his feet. When he woke up in the morning, Chen Shiping still couldn't accept returning to the cold reality. Fortunately, Hachiko rubbed against his feet and comforted him a lot. Now is not the time to think about hot pot. The key is how to deal with the leadership accountability in the afternoon. Chen Shiping looked at the gray sky outside, rubbed his hands, and took the pen out of the ink bottle. The injury on his head was still aching, and he didn't sleep well yesterday. Chen Shiping felt that his temples were about to explode, but now he can only hold on. Chen Shiping wrote a script outline last night, or more accurately, the outline of a novel. I wrote more than 10,000 words yesterday, and there was a mark on my finger joints. Now it's swollen again, and it hurts to hold the pen, but I haven't finished it yet. This script outline is the key to whether he can keep his job today. As for what to write, isn't yesterday's experience the best answer? A happy life is never something you can get by talking about it. The only way is to fight. In order to pay off debts in the previous life, I had to get up at 4 o'clock to deliver milk. I was very happy to bury my head in writing. When the original body was not led astray by the corrupt life in the movie, his learning attitude was not wrong and his foundation was very solid. Chen Shiping was not awkward when writing scripts. He was full of ideas and wrote like a god. Blue handwriting continued to appear on the paper, and the sharp pen strokes were like Chen Shiping's firm belief and desire for a better life. Time passed little by little, the snow outside had stopped, and the sun shone in through the window, covering Chen Shiping with a layer of golden light. When Chen Shiping finished writing the last word and drew a period, he felt that he could not lift his arm. But looking at the dozen or so manuscripts filled with words, he grinned. This is his first step to start a happy life in this era. Woo woo. Hachiko saw Chen Shiping's hand hanging down, sobbing and licking his fingers. The wet touch of his fingertips made Chen Shiping couldn't help laughing. What a good dog. Chen Shiping rubbed Hachiko's head while enduring the pain in his arm. I'll take you to eat delicious food when I come back. Chen Shiping sorted out his manuscript paper, washed his face and went out. Hachiko watched Chen Shiping leave, wagged his tail, picked up Chen Shiping's slippers, and lay down next to the heater. On the way to the main building of the film studio, Chen Shiping was also recalling his original work in the film studio. Normally, this kind of work would not be easily fired, but after the film studio was restructured into a company last year, many aspects became much more flexible. There are advantages and disadvantages. For Chen Shiping, the disadvantages that he will be fired. This flexibility is now all about personnel, and other places are basically the same as before. If the factory wants to set up a project, it must first find a screenwriter to write a script, and then submit the script to the literature department for review and revision, and then submit it to the factory committee for discussion. It takes at least 4 months to decide whether a movie can be shot after the whole process, which is too slow. But these have little to do with Chen Shiping. He just wants to keep his job now. Let myself and Hachiko have a good meal. A few minutes later, in the office of the Department of Literature, Wang Ruteo looked at the unkempt Chen Shiping and said angrily, Chen Shiping, look at yourself now. You still look like you are working. I wanted to talk to you, but I don't think it's necessary. You must be fired. There were many people sitting in the office of the Department of Literature, most of whom were watching the fun, and there were quite a few who were gloating. Only Xiao Bing looked at Chen Shiping with a worried look, probably because he was afraid that he would not get his money back. Make a joke. Chen Shiping told himself in his heart that he must remember the feeling now, and he must not be a joke in his future life. Chen Shiping looked at Wang Ruteo and shook his long bangs without paying attention to the traces, revealing the bandaged wound. After confirming that he noticed it, he handed over the manuscript paper in his hand. Teacher Wang, this is the script I wrote. Even if you fire me, I hope you can take a look at it first, just as the last contribution to the factory. Hurry up and support me. Chapter 3, Good as Good. What does it mean if it's okay? In the bookish office of the Department of Literature, there was a faint smell of coal slag, and the kettle on the small stove suddenly hummed. In the office, the bloody gauze on Chen Shiping's forehead was particularly eye-catching on his pale face. Even though he only showed a little, it was still noticed by everyone. In an instant, everyone's bad feelings towards Chen Shiping dissipated a lot. It is human nature to sympathize with the weak and the little people. In their eyes, Chen Shiping is now a weak person who is injured, and a little person who is about to lose his job. Although there is no contempt in the eyes of his colleagues, this kind of sympathy and pity, as well as the mockery that has not been retracted at the corners of their mouths, are a shame for Chen Shiping. However, Chen Shiping did not hide his weakness at this time. This is a means to gain sympathy, and Chen Shiping does not think it is shameful. While dogs will wag their tails and show their bellies to pretend to be pitiful and beg for shelter, let alone people. Script. Are you trying to cram for the exam now? Wang Ruteo put the cup in his hand on the table, pointed at Chen Shiping and cursed. What were you doing earlier? No matter how well you write, I will ask the factory director to fire you today. Comrade Wang Ruteo is really unsociable. He has no sympathy at all. He doesn't care about the face of a cultural person. Chen Shiping didn't say anything. His miserable appearance was not for Wang Ruteo to see, and he was not the only leader in the literature department. At this time, Xiaobing took a look, stood up and said, Shipping's level is still good. He was a top student in school before. Teacher Wang, give him a chance. Chen Shiping looked at him with a little gratitude. Although he knew that he was worried that he would not be able to pay back the money, it was not important. It was not easy to stand up and speak. Wang Ruteo looked at him with contempt and was not moved at all. The black sheep must be eliminated, otherwise all these years of learning Marxism-Leninism would be in vain. Xiaobing opened his mouth and held back the unfinished words, secretly glanced at Chen Shiping and showed a helpless expression. It's okay to help, but it's not okay to lead the charge. At this time, Jiang Huoyan, who was also the deputy director, looked at Chen Shiping and remembered that he had helped him repair bicycles, carry coal, and repair light bulbs before. His heart softened and he said, Old Wang, look, Xiao Chen admitted his mistakes so sincerely. Give young people a chance, and don't be so harsh. Wang Ruteo looked back at Jiang Huoyan with a smile on his face, and he was very angry. Yesterday he said he would fire Chen Shiping, but today he changed his tone again. Cunning old thief. You are the only one who can be a good guy, right? I won't. Chen Shiping smiled gratefully at Jiang Huoyan who spoke for him. He had tried to please Jiang Huoyan for his daughter Jiang Shan, but he didn't expect that this little bit of goodwill would work at this time. So, picking up girls also has its benefits. Wang Ruteo was very unhappy. He felt that Chen Shiping was a black sheep who did not do his job all day and only knew how to take the actresses in the factory to the dance hall. He must be fired. Such people seriously undermined the atmosphere of the factory. Seeing that Wang Ruteo was unmoved, Jiang Huoyan had to wave at Chen Shiping and said, Xiao Chen, bring it over for me to see. I've heard of your reputation as a great talent before. He's a talent, but he's more like a scumbag. If he can write a good script, I'll admit his mistakes. Wang Ruteo's prejudice against Chen Shiping has been engraved in his bones. It's hard to deal with old-fashioned and stubborn people. But Chen Shiping just pretended not to hear it. The more he scolded now, the more embarrassed this old man would be to see people later. Chen Shiping directly reached out and took the script in front of Wang Ruteo away. Wang Ruteo felt a little uncomfortable when he saw the script being taken away. Wasn't it for me to see? You betrayed like this? You are really a scumbag without principles. No wonder that cunning old thief spoke for you. Birds of a feather. The cunning old thief Jiang Huoyan took the script from Chen Shiping, looked at Chen Shiping, and saw the confidence in his eyes, so he looked through it with confidence. He also hoped that the quality of the script written by Chen Shiping was acceptable, otherwise he would be embarrassed as well. When Chen Shiping saw the script being opened by Jiang Huoyan, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. This job is saved. No one can resist the charm of Sloppy Puppy. The office suddenly fell into silence, and everyone was not very focused on their work. From time to time, they turned their eyes to Jiang Huoyan to see his reaction. But now everyone was muttering in their hearts. It has been almost 10 minutes, why is there no movement at all? Seeing a ghost in broad daylight, this kid Chen Shiping couldn't really write a good script. Wouldn't those of them who work diligently be slapped in the face? Wang Ruteo was a little restless at this time. He knew what Jiang Huoyan's vision was. If it was bad, he would not be silent for a long time. So even if he didn't want to believe it, he had to start to waver. Bring your script here, and let me see it. Wang Ruteo said to Chen Shiping with a stern face. Chen Shiping turned his head and looked at him and said, Teacher Wang, Teacher Jiang is reading it. Wait a minute. Wang Ruteo, okay, Chen Scum. You're really not afraid of being fired, right? I'm really pissed off. Jiang Huoyan heard their conversation and handed the pages he had read to Chen Shiping. He had already finished half of it and was shocked by Chen Shiping's script. Jiang Huoyan studied screenwriting and could tell whether a script was good or not at a glance, and Chen Shiping's script was really good. The text is rigorous and well organized. There is nothing to say. This is the basic skill. The wonderful thing is that the plot and the characters are closely linked, and the changes of the characters are shown little by little against the background of that great era, which is profound and vivid. The only bad thing is that the name is a bit too straightforward. Zusanguan selling blood. It's too appropriate, so appropriate that it makes people feel cold from the bones. Chen Shiping really wrote a good script, so good that people wonder if this kid has really come to his senses. Chen Shiping didn't know what Jiang Huoyan was thinking. He took the pages of manuscript paper, turned around and put them on Wang Ruteo's desk and said, "Teacher Wang, please correct me." Wang Ruteo raised his eyebrows slightly, snorted and said, "I want to see what you wrote." Chen Shiping smiled, but didn't say anything. At this time, he was no longer weak and depressed as at the beginning. His back was straight and his eyes were full of light. You can't pretend to be a wild dog all the time. If you pretend for a long time, you will really become a dog. 10 minutes later, Wang Ruteo couldn't help but turn his head to look at Chen Shiping. This unlearned boy actually has such talent? Exclamation mark. Could it be plagiarism? This is unlikely. No one would be so stupid. Besides, this is the first manuscript, and he can still see it. For the first time, Wang Ruteo felt that Chen Shiping looked quite pleasing to the eye. Well, he looks good too. Although he is not a standard national face, he also has the taste of a cream boy. Xiao Chen, bring the rest of the manuscript here. Jiang Huoyan stood up and handed over the rest of the manuscript and said, "I've just finished reading it. You can take it and read it." At this time, Jiang Huoyan looked at Chen Shiping with a complicated expression, as if he was hit by the waves behind him on the beach. Jiang Huoyan did not praise Chen Shiping, but just took out a cigarette and handed it to Chen Shiping and said, "Shiping, work hard in the future." Chen Shiping did not notice that Jiang Huoyan called him Shiping, but just lit the cigarette with a proud look and took a deep puff. Wang Ruteo, who did not like smoking, wrinkled his nose and wanted to scold him, but was attracted by the plot. In the end, he just fanned his head with his hand and continued to read. At this time, everyone in the office looked at this scene in surprise. They did not expect that things in the literature department would become a little magical. No, Chen Shiping, who was not doing his job, really wrote a good script? Exclamation mark. They worked hard to study and study every day, but they were not as good as Chen Shiping, who went out to fool around every day. Exclamation mark. Then who are we sympathizing with just now? Those of us who work hard every day and write for defense should be the ones who are sympathized. Xiao Chen, come here. Chen Shiping, who was distracted, heard Wang Ruteo calling him and put out the cigarette butt in his hand and asked quickly, "Teacher Wang, have you finished reading? If you have any questions, just say it directly. Welcome to point out and criticize." Wang Ruteo's words of praise stopped at his lips. Point out? Point out what? The script has a complete structure, a clear main line, and full characters. It also uses a humorous way to dilute the overall sense of tragedy and retain the dignity of the bottom level little people, but the criticism of the times and the struggle and sacrifice of the little people are also fully displayed. What's wrong with this? How to point out? Teacher Wang, if there is a problem, just say it directly. I will change it as you ask me to, as long as you don't fire me. Wang Ruteo was choked and speechless. He suspected that this kid was deliberately trying to embarrass himself. He didn't know what level he wrote. "I'm just a screenwriter who studied history and Marxism-Leninism and changed my job halfway. What can I comment on?" Even if Chen Shiping is talented, he is a mean guy, unworthy of a human being. Looking at Chen Shiping with a face full of expectation, Wang Ruteo stiffened his neck and grunted for a long time, then slapped the table and said, "You've written well, isn't it? Teacher Wang, good is good, bad is bad. What does okay mean? You. Chapter 4. Human hearts are worse than wild dogs. The sadness of being alone is totally different from hiding in the bathroom to cry. In the smoky office, Chen Shiping calmly talked about the scene at the end of the script. Zusanguan was crying alone on the street. He couldn't sell his blood. He felt that he had lost his only value. He sold blood many times in his life to resist the suffering and frustration brought to him by fate. He improved his family's life, saved the person he loved, saved his son, and entertained the leaders. He sold blood for others all his life. The only time he wanted to sell blood for himself to eat a bowl of pig liver, he couldn't sell it. Chen Shiping didn't let Zusanguan be found by his family and eat that bowl of pig liver, which made his fate stay at the most devastating and dark moment. The office was very quiet, and everyone was immersed in Chen Shiping's words. Zusanguan sold blood, but it was not blood. Those were the years of suffering. There were few young people in the office. Many people had experienced the same suffering as Zusanguan, and they all felt the same bitterness. Wang Ruteo was silent for a long time. Although he was annoyed by Chen Shiping, he had to admit that Chen Shiping wrote very well. He was even willing to admit that Chen Shiping, who was not stingy, also had a shining side, but reality was as cruel as a novel. This script was destined to be unfilmed. It proved Chen Shiping's talent and helped him keep his job, but he could only take it back and eat dust. Take this script back and work hard in the future. Wang Ruteo stood up and put the script in Chen Shiping's hand, then turned and left. Jiang Huoyan also felt sorry for it and patted Chen Shiping on the shoulder, not knowing how to comfort him. Others in the office cast sympathetic eyes on Chen Shiping again, but this time it was not pity, but pity. Chen Shiping felt nothing. He wrote Zusanguan selling blood just to give them a little shock, to keep his job, and change his image in everyone's mind. Serious illness requires strong medicine. Chen Shiping put away his script and stretched his waist. The sunlight outside the window shone in obliquely, adding a layer of halo to his sloppy hair. Chen Shiping enjoyed the warmth of the sun and felt a little relieved. He had saved his and Hachiko's doghouses and didn't have to sleep on the street tonight. It was not time to get off work yet. Chen Shiping sat at his desk and continued to play the role of a prodigal son. But it was not all pretending. He had to write a script that could be filmed. Chen Shiping remembered today that there was a bonus for the script being accepted, 1000 yuan for the original and 800 yuan for the adapted. But it was unrealistic to want to make money by writing scripts to change the current predicament. He had to think of other ways. The factory's process took 4 months, and no one could stand it. After 4 months, Chen Shiping's grave was covered with flowers. Chen Shiping stayed in the office until the end of the day and immediately ran to the dormitory. Hachiko hadn't eaten for a day, so he didn't want to chew his only slippers. He relied on these slippers to get through the cold spring. Woof woof woo woo. As soon as Chen Shiping opened the door and went in, Hachiko wagged his tail and circled around Chen Shiping's feet. The house was still in its messy state, and the slippers were intact, but they were stained with a lot of dog hair and were made dirty by Hachiko. Good dog. I'll take you out to eat delicious food. Chen Shiping picked up Hachiko and put him directly into his jacket without caring about its dirtiness. The world is broken, and the dog mends it. An hour later, in the stairwell of the dormitory building, Chen Shiping looked at Hachiko, who was trying hard to climb the stairs, raised his foot, and pushed hard on it, but to send it up. It was still difficult for the short legs to climb the stairs, or it might be because he ate too much and his stomach was too round. After returning to the dormitory, Chen Shiping simply washed his face and sat in front of the bed to start writing a book. It is better to write novels than to expect to make money by writing scripts. At least you can get money if the manuscript is accepted, and it won't take such a long process like in the factory. The story of Zusanguan selling blood was only used to shock those colleagues in the literature department. It was a waste of talent. Under the dim light, Chen Shiping endured the pain of swollen fingers and squeezed the pen hard to make every word he wrote as beautiful as possible. The windows covered with newspapers were bulging in the cold wind. Hachiko seemed to feel a chill and fell asleep on Chen Shiping's slippers. The cold wind whistled at night, but Chen Shiping was not affected at all. He still had a warm house. If he couldn't pay the money in a month, those people would definitely come to the company to make trouble. The job he had finally saved today would probably be lost again. Don't become a stray dog. No one knew the urgency in Chen Shiping's heart. Only Hachiko would wag his tail to make him happy. When Chen Shiping was tired, the snow in early spring came quickly and went away quickly. Before he knew it, the weather had warmed up, and the bare branches had sprouted. Chen Shiping went to work honestly for a week, trying to be a little transparent, but every day, when he went to the office, he would be pulled by his colleagues to talk about literature and scripts. Shiping, it's such a pity for your script, Xiaobing said with a sigh. If it was director Z who was in charge, maybe it would work, but he's busy filming Red Mansions. The director Z that Xiaobing was talking about was not Zijin from Shanghai Film Studio, but director Z Li from Beijing Film Studio. The Bayos were director Z's work. I only use Stankan for hair oil. Chen Shiping knew director Z's strength, but he still didn't think that Zusangu and Selling Blood could be filmed. Zijin almost failed when he filmed Furing Town, and Zusangu and Selling Blood was much bigger than Furing Town. The historical span involved was too long, and there were too many special backgrounds involved, so the hope of filming it was almost zero. Wang Ruteo was also in the office. Hearing these words, he wanted to give Chen Shiping some advice, but thinking of how he was pissed off by him last time, he hesitated for a while and still didn't say anything. Jiang Huoyan took the initiative to say, Xiao Chen, you can write a novel. This is a good story. Don't waste it. I've already written it. I sent it to Contemporary Publishing House 2 days ago. I don't know if it will be accepted. Chen Shiping's words immediately aroused the curiosity of everyone in the office. They immediately surrounded Chen Shiping and said, how many words have you written? You are going to be a great writer. If Contemporary Publishing House accepts it, Shiping will really become a great writer. The royalties will be quite high. Writers make the most money these days. Shiping, bring us the manuscript. The script is still too simple. A novel is better. If you make money, you have to treat us to a meal. The colleagues around him were originally feeling sorry for Chen Shiping's script, but now their tone was a little sour. Chen Shiping pretended not to notice, and said with a smile, I only have the first draft in my hand. I don't know if it will be accepted. First draft. Jiang Huoyan's eyes lit up, and he immediately stretched out his hand and said, give it to me. I'll help you see if it can be accepted. Cunning old thief. Wang Ruteo couldn't help cursing in his heart when he heard Jiang Huoyan's words, but he was also envious of Chen Shiping's manuscript. Chen Shiping's writing was not bad, and Zusangu and Selling Blood would definitely be a good book if it was written into a book. Wang Ruteo couldn't help coughing, wanting to remind Chen Shiping not to be deceived by Jiang Huoyan, the cunning old thief. After hearing this, Chen Shiping turned his head and nodded to Wang Ruteo, then turned his head and said to Jiang Huoyan, it was torn by my dog. Jiang Huoyan, your excuse is a bit too bad. Chen Shiping is not stupid. This is a manuscript, very valuable. How can he show it to them? It's not like a meat bun hitting a bagging. It's gone and never returned. What if Contemporary confiscates it? Suddenly a colleague muttered in a low voice, scripts are different from novels. His voice was neither loud nor soft, but it happened to be heard by everyone, and everyone's expressions became strange for a while. It feels that what he said makes some sense. Even a literary script can't be compared with a real novel. There is too much difference. What kind of novel can Chen Shiping write in that state? He was just lucky to meet an old man selling blood and wrote a script. How can he write a novel? When you are worthless, people around you will say that you are just unlucky or very capable. When you start to become successful, they will start to slander you because the person who is successful is not himself. People are like this when they become selfish, even worse than wild dogs fighting for food in the wild. Wang Ruteo was no longer so angry because Chen Shiping nodded to him before, and he couldn't help but scolded with a stern face. If you have the ability, go write it yourself. Why are you so jealous here? The office suddenly became quiet, and everyone returned to their seats and started pretending to be busy. When getting off work, a group of people shouted that they were exhausted and walked out at lightning speed. Chen Shiping was also preparing to go back to the dormitory. As soon as he reached the door, he was stopped by Jiang Huoyan. Shiping, Shanshan is on holiday from the Central Academy of Drama today. Do you want to come to our house for dinner? Bring your novel to read. Shanshan also likes to read novels. TSK, even the daughter is brought out, but today is only Thursday. Jiang Shan is not having a holiday. Chen Shiping smiled and refused righteously. Teacher Jiang Shan will be on holiday on Thursday. There are not many courses in the Central Academy of Drama. But I have to go back to feed the dog. I will visit you next time. Jiang Huoyan looked at Chen Shiping's back as he left, touched his chin, and felt that this boy was not as attentive as before. Did he fall in love with someone else, and no longer like Shanshan? Please read it again. The contract status has been changed. Please give me a monthly ticket. Godfathers, please support me. Chapter 5 Jealousy, Hatred, Sorrow, and Resentment. Woof woof woof. The washed Hachiko was anxiously circling around the small stove. In the pot on the stove was plain noodles, which were emitting a faint wheat aroma. Chen Shiping had no money, and could not cook, so plain noodles with a few drops of soy sauce were his 3 meals a day. He returned the 210 yuan salary to Xiaobing before he could even warm it up. Now he could only eat plain noodles. Even if he added some green vegetables and chopped green onions, he would not have enough money to eat until the end of the month. Now he could only hope that the manuscript he sent to Contemporary would be accepted, so that he could receive the manuscript fee in a few days and take Hachiko out to eat meat. By the way, let those colleagues in the office who like to eat lemons open their eyes. The noodles in the pot kept rolling. Chen Shiping picked up a noodle with chopsticks and threw it against the wall. The noodle flew out an arc and hung steadily on the wall. This is the little trick below. If it can hit the wall, it means it is cooked. After picking out a bowl of white noodles for Hachiko, Chen Shiping added a little salt to the noodle soup and ripped a few drops of soy sauce into it. After Chen Shiping slurped a mouthful of noodles, he couldn't help but sigh. It was really unpalatable, even worse than what the pigs of the pig-raising bloggers on Douyin in his previous life ate. If I had known earlier, I would have gone to Jiang Huoyan's house. His family must have good food. At least noodles should be served with fried sauce and pickled garlic. Chen Shiping smacked his lips. Why did he feel like an emperor farming with a golden hoe? After eating the noodles, Chen Shiping washed the bowl with boiling water and sat back at the desk to start writing a book. Zusanguan Selling Blood has more than 100,000 words. Chen Shiping has only written more than 60,000 words in the past few days, and there are still more than 100,000 words left. Chen Shiping suddenly slammed the table halfway through writing, scaring Hachiko, who was sleeping on his stomach, and he cried a few times. Chen Shiping realized that he shouldn't be so anxious to send 1/3 of the manuscript to the magazine. This is not writing an online article. The magazine must see the full text before considering whether to publish it. It will not publish it after reading half of it. Don't be too eager for quick success. Chen Shiping wrote this sentence on a blank piece of manuscript paper and pasted it in front of his eyes to warn himself. It's all because of the debt. This time the manuscript is really going to be rejected. Those colleagues in the literature department will probably be happy and will inevitably say some hypocritical consolation. Chen Shiping didn't know what the fate of his manuscript would be. He just waited silently for the magazine to reject it. He was even ready to be ridiculed and comforted. But a week passed, and Chen Shiping still didn't receive the rejection letter, which made him wonder if his letter was lost halfway. Chen Shiping's doubts were only in his heart, and he didn't show it on the surface, but such a calm performance made people in the office more and more jealous. We are all intellectuals. Who hasn't written a novel or poem to submit to a magazine? Local magazines like Contemporary reject manuscripts very quickly. Only if your manuscript is accepted will there be no news for several days. It seems that they are sure that Chen Shiping's submission has been accepted, and jealousy and envy are always revealed in casual chats. Shipping, how many words did you write? If it's a long novel, it would have to be at least 100,000 words, and the royalties would have to be 2,000 to 3,000 yuan, which is much more than what we earn from working hard for a month. Those teacher scripts can only earn this much at most, but they caught up in less than a year. Comparing yourself to others is frustrating. They don't neglect eating, drinking and having fun. They work 3 days and rest 2 days. They have nothing to do at work, and they can still earn so much money. We can't compare, just be honest and endure it. Chen Shiping didn't care much about these sour and malicious words, not to mention whether it was passed or not. He couldn't be proud, even if it was passed. No one likes people who show off, and Chen Shiping is not in a position where he doesn't care about other people's opinions. Most people in the office don't speak well. Only Xiao Bing came over and said a few nice words, but then he changed the subject and began to care about Chen Shiping. Shiping, I see you've been eating at home recently. Did you pay me back and have no money to eat? Xiao Bing said a little embarrassedly. Actually, I'm not in such a hurry. I still have 50 yuan here. Why don't you take it first and give it to me when you have money? There are smart people in the office. Chen Shiping looked at Xiao Bing and smiled and said, don't bother. I don't like to owe people money. After rejecting Xiao Bing's kindness, Chen Shiping began to work seriously. Writing scripts is also a way to make money. If he is selected by the factory, he will get at least 1,000 yuan. The above policy stipulates that the standard for literary script royalties is very high. The original long-length works are 1,500 to 4,000 yuan. As for how much royalties can be obtained, it depends on the evaluation of the literature department and the final instructions of the factory committee. However, 15% of this money must be distributed to the script editor. After the script is written, an editor must be found. This editor is the leader of the literature department. Although he doesn't quite understand why the screenwriter needs an editor, Chen Shiping understands why the editor must be paid, and he must be his leader. The Buddha said that the sutra should not be passed on lightly, nor should it be taken for nothing. Chen Shiping has written a new script these days, and it will be finished today. If he doesn't write it quickly, our sloppy little dog will grow up and can't be a star dog. He still relies on Hachiko to earn some performance fees to support himself. After Chen Shiping finished writing Hachiko and handed it in, he thought about what happened to his manuscript submitted to Contemporary magazine. It should have been in the hands of the magazine a long time ago, so why is there no movement at all? Zhu Sangguan and Selling Blood has indeed been in the hands of Zhao Chang'ai, the editor of Contemporary magazine, for several days now, but Zhao Chang'ai only saw Chen Shiping's manuscript today. However, he is now struggling with how to deal with this manuscript. According to his own philosophy, this manuscript will definitely be rejected, but thinking of the lesson 2 years ago, he decided to keep it and take it to the magazine tomorrow to show it to other editors. Thinking of the rejection of Ordinary World 2 years ago, Zhao Chang'ai was very upset, but he would not admit it on the surface. He was not upset because he was too arbitrary and rejected Ordinary World after only flipping through a few pages, but he did not expect Ordinary World to be so popular, which put him in an embarrassing situation. Every failure makes one wiser. This time, even if he didn't like Zhu Sangguan Selling Blood, he still showed it to the editor. Zhu Sangguan Selling Blood, which had been flipped a few pages, was repacked and put aside. He didn't even know that it was an unfinished novel. Sometimes reality is much more interesting than fiction. The human heart cannot stand being studied. Otherwise, you will find that it is more dizzying and disgusting than a maze. In the editor-in-chief's office of Contemporary magazine, after Qin Zhaoyang finished reading the 60,000 words Zhu Sangguan Selling Blood, he couldn't help but say, this novel is good, but why is there only this much? Where is the rest of the manuscript? Zhao Chang'ai was stunned for a moment and subconsciously asked, Editor-in-chief, what did you say? Huh? Qin Zhaoyang frowned and looked at Zhao Chang'ai and asked, you haven't finished reading it? Where is the rest of the manuscript? It's all here. Zhao Chang'ai reacted halfway through his words and immediately changed his words. The author only sent these, so I couldn't make up my mind, and showed it to you. Qin Zhaoyang didn't think much about it, and said with a hum, I thought you didn't finish reading it, or lost the rest of the manuscript. Zhao Chang'ai laughed awkwardly, and didn't say anything. In his heart, he couldn't help but blame Chen Shiping for submitting half of the manuscript. He almost made him look bad. This is well written. Find the address of this writer, and see if there is a phone number or page number, to ask about the situation. Qin Zhaoyang gave an order, and turned over Zhu Sangguan Selling Blood to read it again. Zhao Chang'ai responded and went out. After closing the door of the editor-in-chief's office, he couldn't help but mutter a curse. In the office of the literature department of Beijing Film Studio, Chen Shiping suddenly sneezed. Shiping. Come on, your script is very touching. Jiang Huoyan had just finished reading Hachiko and couldn't help but call Chen Shiping over. Wang Ruteo, who was sitting opposite, couldn't help but say, "I thought he would only reveal the humble and dark side of human nature, but this script can be filmed." When the people in the office heard the words of the two leaders, they began to feel sour again, and their eyes looking at Chen Shiping were full of jealousy and hatred. Envy? Not at all, just hate. Why he wrote a good script again. Godfathers, throw money at me. Please read the first sentence of this chapter. Chapter 6. I'm really jealous. Next to the stove that was emitting heat, Chen Shiping picked up the aluminum kettle, and the boiling water flowed smoothly into the thermos along the spout. The big red thermos was printed with a large group of peony flowers, which looked very festive. The taste of the boiling water mixed with the carbon smell of honeycomb coal smelled a bit burnt and had a very wintry feeling. Chen Shiping carried the thermos to refill the cups of several teachers in the office, and the thermos ran out of water. When he found that Wang Ruteo still had half a cup of tea left, he put down the thermos and sat down. Wang Ruteo looked at his half cup and then looked at Jiang Huoyan's full cup of tea and felt a little unhappy. Chen Shiping is really a vengeful guy. To be precise, Jiang Huoyan, this cunning old thief, really knows how to pretend to be a good guy, and he makes himself the bad guy. Chen Shiping really didn't mean it. What should I do if there is no water? Let's talk about the script first. The version modified by Chen Shiping is basically the same as the one played by Feng Xiao Gang. That version was successfully localized, but the current era background is different from the movie, so Chen Shiping still changed a lot of content. After chatting for a long time, Jiang Huoyan said with regret, "This script may not be approved, even if it is submitted. The factory does not have much funds. It is difficult." That's right. The Red Mansion is still short of money. It takes too much film to shoot animals. Wang Ruteo glanced at Chen Shiping and felt sorry for him. He wrote 2 scripts and neither of them could be used. Jiang Huoyan smiled and said, "Why don't you give it a try? What if?" Cunning old thief. He was fooled again. Wang Ruteo cursed in his heart. Chen Shiping really wanted to bang his head against the wall. How could he forget that animals are not easy to shoot and still want Bagan to make more money? The next day at work, Chen Shiping didn't have much to think about. He saw that the manuscript of the novel had been submitted for several days, but there was still no result. He was about to vomit eating noodles every day. He didn't make money from writing scripts, so he could only rely on novels. Afternoon, Chen Shiping asked for leave from Jiang Huoyan and went straight to Contemporary magazine. He couldn't wait any longer and went straight to the door. "Make way. Watch out for the cars." Chen Shiping was riding his bicycle at the entrance of the film studio, ringing the bell frantically, fearing that the 2 blind men at the entrance would hit him. If he hit someone, he would have no money to pay for it. Chen Shiping rode his bicycle past the 2 men in a hurry and stood up and pedaled after getting on the main road. Qin Zhaoang and Zhao Changai at the entrance of the factory watched Chen Shiping leave before turning around and walking into the factory. After a few minutes, Qin Zhaoang and Zhao Changai found the literature department and heard Jiang Huoyan say that Chen Shiping went to the magazine company and he just left. Who was the one riding a bicycle at the entrance just now? Fate is really amazing. Qin Zhaoang suddenly had a very special feeling. This time, Zhu Sanguan selling blood might become a classic like Liu Yao's Ordinary World. The last time, Zhao Changai rejected Ordinary World by mistake. This time he would not make the same mistake again. In the office of the literature department, Chen Shiping's colleagues were all in shock at this time. Is he so good at writing? The editor even came to the door! Exclamation mark. This is the treatment of a famous writer. Envy, jealousy, and hatred lingered in their hearts, and they couldn't help but take the initiative to go over and talk to Qin Zhaoang. Editor-in-Chief Qin, please sit down for a while. With Shiping's personality, maybe he found an excuse to ask for leave and go out to play. I have known Shiping for a long time, and he is sometimes more casual. Well, Shiping is still very talented. Maybe this time he will turn back and really go to the magazine. In the corner of the literature department's office, Zhao Changai, the editor of Contemporary magazine, took the phone and said a few words, then hung up. In the editorial department of Contemporary magazine, Chen Shiping knew that the editor-in-chief of Contemporary magazine went to the factory to find him in person, and he rode his bicycle back frantically with the manuscript. He didn't have much money in his stomach, and now it was more than 20 kilometers back and forth, which was simply life-threatening. In the corridor outside the literature department's office, Xiaobing was smoking and chatting with several colleagues. The topic of the conversation was Chen Shiping, the hot topic in the office. Listening to the jealous comments of his colleagues, Xiaobing smoked a cigarette without saying anything. He was also very jealous in his heart, but he didn't want to complain together. How come Chen Shiping is so lucky that even editor-in-chief Qin came to visit him personally? What's the point of saying these things? He will become a famous writer soon. He even wrote a new script yesterday. I'm not sure if you should call him Teacher Chen when you see him next time. What the hell? He has only been in the factory for a few years. Chen Shiping, who had just returned to the factory, didn't expect to hear these words. As soon as he came back, he wiped the sweat from his forehead first. He couldn't walk over so embarrassedly. He didn't laugh at them. After tidying up his appearance, Chen Shiping walked over to greet them, as if he hadn't heard what they had just said. Xiaobing handed over a cigarette with a smile and said, "Shiping, you're finally back. Editor-in-chief Qin has been waiting for a long time." Chen Shiping took the cigarette and said, "Oh, who would have thought that the editor-in-chief would come in person? I was too anxious and only sent half of the manuscript. It means you write well." Xiaobing lit the cigarette for Chen Shiping and said, "Editor-in-chief Qin is chatting with Teacher Jiang in there, waiting to read your novel." Chen Shiping smiled and glanced at those chattering colleagues and said modestly, "Okay, then I won't chat with you anymore. It's not good to keep them waiting. They must be anxious to finalize the manuscript and publish it. When the time comes, all of you brothers will support them." Support, of course. "Shipping, if your novel is published, you have to give me a signed copy. Congratulations in advance, great writer." Chen Shiping felt refreshed after hearing these words. "Envy, jealousy, and contempt for me, but you don't dare to say it to my face. You're a bunch of scum." When Chen Shiping entered the office, the smiles on the faces of the people outside immediately disappeared, and the cigarettes in their hands felt tasteless. What bad luck. How could Chen Shiping get so far? In the office, after a brief greeting with editor-in-chief Qin, Chen Shiping handed over the rest of the manuscript. Editor-in-chief Qin immediately began to read it impatiently. The first 60,000 words were well written. If the latter part was just as good, then this book Zusangu and Selling Blood would be a must-buy. It takes a long time to finish reading hundreds of thousands of words, and no one disturbed Qin Zhaoyang. Jiang Huaiyan also read it with him. The more he read, the more he liked it. He just felt it was a pity. It was obviously written as a script first, but it was a pity that it could not be filmed. This gave Contemporary magazine an advantage. What a loss. Qin Zhaoyang also liked it more and more. Zusangu and Selling Blood was different from the popular avant-garde literature now, but the influence of avant-garde literature could also be seen in it. However, the only thing that was not so good was that it described too much of the darkness in human nature and emphasized too much on the helplessness and struggle of individual destiny in the context of the times. Compared with Qin Zhaoyang, who was devoted to reading, other people in the office seemed much more impetuous. They always hoped that Chen Shiping would write poorly and be rejected. It would be best if he scolded it as garbage and then walked away. But their expectations were dashed. A few hours later, Qin Zhaoyang hurriedly read all of it and couldn't help but sighed. Great, it's really well written. Qin Zhaoyang felt a sense of power in Chen Shiping's words, like a bowl of white porridge mixed with pickles, which seemed simple and bland, but the inner taste made people linger for a long time. At this time, everyone in the office had a flash of disappointment in their hearts. We were all in the same office. How did you stand out? How did you write such a good novel? You wrote this novel so well. Qin Zhaoyang pulled Chen Shiping and said, Zusangu and Selling Blood, Contemporary has accepted it. It will be published next month. Finally, it was settled. After such a long wait, there was finally an answer, and the anxiety like a wild dog could finally relax. After thanking him for a few times, Chen Shiping finally couldn't hold back his excitement and asked, Editor-in-Chief Qin, how much is our contemporary manuscript fee? Qin Zhaoyang was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that Chen Shiping's first concern was the manuscript fee. However, seeing Chen Shiping's thin figure and unkempt appearance, he almost knew that he was very short of money. After a pause, he said, the normal manuscript fee for a newcomer is 12 yuan per 1,000 words, but you write very well, so I'll give you 18 yuan per 1,000 words. How many words did you write? 182,000 words. A total of 3,272 yuan. Chen Shiping replied immediately. Qin Zhaoyang, how short of money are you, kid? You calculated too fast. 18 yuan per 1,000 words, a total of 3,272 yuan. When the people in the office heard this number, their eyes were red. Damn, this is almost catching up with 2 years' salary. Chen Shiping is really lucky. Please vote Godfathers. The dog bowl has been smashed, and they are also slandered by villains behind their backs. Chen Shiping and Bagang urgently need the support of Godfathers. Chapter 7 Undercurrent. Under the golden sunset, the leaves of the locust tree that had just sprouted new branches swayed slightly. Chen Shiping stood in front of the window on the second floor and watched Qin Zhaoyang and Zhao Changai leave downstairs. The golden sunlight cast a layer of golden light on Qin Zhaoyang's back. This is a talent scout. The old man even came to visit in person. Chen Shiping was very grateful. The golden sunset also sprinkled on Chen Shiping. Several colleagues in the office looked at his back and felt that this guy was really going to be successful. He was even sculpted into a golden body. Shipping, do you want to go to my place for a drink in the evening? Go to my place. I have a bottle of good wine. Chen Shiping looked at his suddenly enthusiastic colleagues and said with a smile, then I won't be polite. I was thinking about waiting until the manuscript fee was published before I could eat meat. Thank you, brothers. Everyone, you really agreed to be polite. Contemporary is a bi-monthly magazine. The full novel will be published in July, but the manuscript fee will not wait until July. Chen Shiping will get the manuscript fee in a few days. Chen Shiping has already made up his mind. After paying off the foreign debt of 3,000 yuan, he will buy 5 kilograms of pork ribs and eat 3 kilograms and 8 kilograms for himself. Eat as much as you can. Make as much as you can. Just thinking about it makes me drool. Hey, are they all here? A person suddenly appeared at the door of the office. There will be a meeting in the factory next week. Have we finalized the manuscripts we need to submit? The factory committee just urged us. The people in the office turned their eyes to Chen Shiping again. He just submitted a script. If it is selected, won't he make money again? Chen Shiping really deserves to die. Please don't make money anymore. I'm going to get conjunctivitis. The buddy who had said at the beginning that he wanted to invite Chen Shiping to drink together now had a pink eye attack and found an excuse and said, Shipping, forget it tonight. I still have to revise my script. I'll invite you next time if I have a chance. The others also echoed, yes, yes, yes. Revising the script is important. We'll invite you next time. Chen Shiping, who thought he would have meat to eat tonight, was dumbfounded. He had been eating noodles for a long time, and he wanted to eat meat and drink. Scum. But it was really busy at this time. The script submitted to the factory committee had to be reviewed and finalized by the literature department first. The quota was limited, and it was not that you could submit it as soon as you wrote it. If that was the case, why would the literature department review it? As long as it was submitted to the factory committee, there was a chance that it would be selected to be made into a movie, which meant that at least 1,000 yuan would be in hand. Invisibly, the competition began again. Chen Shiping didn't have time to write the script. He had written the novel and 2 scripts in a short period of time. It would be a bit abnormal to continue writing. And the script of Hachiko could still be submitted. Didn't Jiang Huoyan say to give it a try? Chen Shiping immediately walked over and asked, Teacher Jiang, can you submit the script for Hachiko? Jiang Huoyan was about to nod when Wang Ruteo coughed and said, don't submit it. There are not many quotas. Animals are hard to shoot, and the factory committee will not approve it. Give it to someone else. Wang Ruteo's voice was loud. Everyone in the office heard it and was secretly delighted. There was one less competitor. and it was from Chen Shiping, who was so proud of him just now. Now they can only watch them make money. Teacher Wang, you also said that the script is well written. It's okay to give it a try. Chen Shiping didn't want to miss this opportunity. If it succeeded, he would get more than 1,000 yuan. Wang Ruteo still shook his head and disagreed. He was not targeting Chen Shiping, but as a leader, he wanted to be fair. Yes, Shiping, it's so troublesome to shoot animals. The factory has no experience in shooting, so forget it. Shiping, you are not short of money, right? Isn't there more than 3,000 yuan in royalties soon? As soon as the words more than 3,000 yuan in royalties came out, the others couldn't help it and began to find various reasons to persuade Chen Shiping. You have made so much money and you still want to compete with us for the quota. Aren't you a little too greedy? The people who have been holding their breath will not miss this opportunity. The office is almost a criticism meeting. Jiang Huoyan saw that it was not easy to speak for Chen Shiping in this situation. He shook his head slightly at Chen Shiping to signal him to stop talking. Chen Shiping had to shut up, but he felt very aggrieved in his heart. The excitement of Zusanguan selling blood being accepted by contemporary disappeared. It's not like I'm using the back door. Why don't I give him a chance to try? If the script is not good, forget it. Just because there are not many places, I have to give it up. Exclamation mark. Just when there is hope for the day, you should give it to yourself, right? After get off work in the evening, Chen Shiping returned home and ate noodles angrily, his eyes fixed on the pen on the desk. Don't force me to write another script. But after thinking for a while, Chen Shiping gave up. He was not so productive, and it would be suspicious if he told others about it. Besides, he still had to work in the factory in the future, and he couldn't offend everyone in the office. After eating the noodles, Chen Shiping stroked Hachiko's head while thinking about whether there was any way to get a quota. Hachiko was very comfortable being stroked by Chen Shiping, squinting his eyes and enjoying it very much, but after a while he broke free from Chen Shiping's clutches and barked. Chen Shiping came back to his senses and looked at it and said, "Are you going to poop again?" Hachiko barked a few times, so Chen Shiping had to take Hachiko downstairs to poop. After coming downstairs, Hachiko ran to poop happily. Chen Shiping looked at Hachiko, who was messy in the wind, and couldn't help laughing. What a sloppy puppy. Sloppy puppy. Chen Shiping suddenly thought of a possibility. If Hachiko doesn't work, then can Zusanguan's blood selling record be tried? If it can be published in a contemporary magazine, does it mean that it can be discussed by the factory committee? We can't just kill it with one blow without discussion. Chen Shiping, who had an idea in mind, immediately left Hachiko and went to Jiang Huoyan's house. By the way, I'll see if Jiang Shan is back. I haven't seen Jiang's sister for a long time. Chen Shiping trotted to the family building of Jiang Huoyan's house. Before he got close, he saw a colleague from the literature department carrying a big red plastic bag upstairs. If Chen Shiping remembered correctly, he lived upstairs in his own tube building. Why did he carry things to the welfare housing allocated here? Gift! Exclamation mark. Chen Shiping suddenly realized that this was a backdoor. Why not report it? Kill one is one. After Chen Shiping followed him upstairs, he found that he went to Jiang Huoyan's house, stood in the stairwell, smacked his lips, and went downstairs again. Chen Shiping sat by the flower bed downstairs for half an hour. He saw several people coming to give gifts and go through the back door. They were all sneaky. Most importantly, they all came to see Jiang Huoyan. This old guy is quite courageous. Everyone who went in came out empty-handed. Let's click on him. Forget it. Jiang Huoyan is still good to him, and he has a friendship with Jiang Shan. How can he report him? When he goes to work tomorrow, he will directly ask Jiang Huoyan if he can hand in the record of Zusanguan selling blood. The most important thing is that Wang Ruteo must not object, otherwise it will be nonsense again. It's a pity that no one gave gifts to Wang Ruteo, otherwise it would be good to click on Wang Ruteo so that no one would oppose him. But I can only think about it. Wang Ruteo is just old-fashioned and strict, and he is still a good leader. Try again tomorrow. I hope there will be no villains this time. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8, Saving the Country in a Roundabout Way. The season of spring and blooming flowers does not necessarily make one happy. At least, one cannot be happy if one eats noodles every day. So Chen Shiping was eager to improve his living standards. The royalties from Zusangu and selling blood were only enough to pay off his debts. Without extra income, when could he eat spare ribs? After finishing his not so delicious breakfast, Chen Shiping rushed to the factory. After arriving at the office, Chen Shiping went straight to Jiang Huoyan and Wang Ruteo and told them that he wanted to hand in Zusangu and selling blood. As soon as he said this, everyone in the office focused their attention on Chen Shiping again. No one thought that he had not given up yet. Shiping, didn't teacher Jiang and teacher Wang say before that the plot of Zusangu and selling blood is too sensitive and not suitable? Yes, there's no need to waste a quota. It's hard enough with so many people in the office competing for those few quotas, and there's no need for you, a great writer, to compete with us. Shiping, forget it. The novel has been published. Your hard work has not been in vain. Chen Shiping only said one sentence. Even Jiang Huoyan and Wang Ruteo didn't say anything. The others spoke first, like a chain of cannons. I also promised my future mother-in-law to buy a TV for the wedding, and I'm counting on this script to be approved. That's really not easy for you. You and your partner have been dating for several years. I hope you can succeed this time. Chen Shiping listened to their conversation and didn't expect moral kidnapping to come. Jiang Huoyan also sighed in embarrassment, turned his head to look at Wang Ruteo and asked, "Old Wang, what do you think?" Wang Ruteo was about to refuse, but seeing Jiang Huoyan's expression, he immediately changed his words and said, "I'll listen to you." Jiang Huoyan, why don't you fall for it this time? Jiang Huoyan coughed and said, "Shiping, why don't you forget it? There is not much hope if you submit it. Maybe it will be better to submit it after the novel is published." Hearing Jiang Huoyan's words, everyone in the office breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, they went to give gifts yesterday. Now Jiang Huoyan can't side with Chen Shi. Wang Ruteo looked at Jiang Huoyan in surprise and couldn't understand why he supported Chen Shiping yesterday and changed his mind today. Sure enough, he is a cunning old thief. He wanted to refuse, and just now he wanted him to take the blame. Wang Ruteo curled his lips and despised Jiang Huoyan's style in his heart. Chen Shiping thought of what he saw last night, and he had a rough idea in his mind. Jiang Huoyan had given out all the places, and now there was no way to speak for him. These people in the office reacted so quickly. The gifts were so decisive. Chen Shiping had no choice but to turn his attention to Wang Ruteo, hoping that he could support him. Wang Ruteo thought for a while and shook his head and said, "Shiping, forget it this time. Let's wait until the novel is published to see the response." Chen Shiping took a deep breath, forced a smile and said, "Okay, forget it then." Chen Shiping was in a bad mood. He didn't expect to be rejected so directly. There was no chance at all. Chen Shiping was in a depressed mood and couldn't even smoke a cigarette. He was so poor that he had to eat dirt. How could he afford cigarettes? After being depressed for a whole morning, Chen Shiping, who was about to go home for noodles at noon, met Jiang Huoyan on the way. He immediately ran over and pulled his bicycle and said, "Teacher Jiang, is there really no chance?" "No," Jiang Huoyan said very directly. Chen Shiping still didn't let go, looking at him and said, "Teacher Jiang, you must have a way. Give me a tip. I promise to stay away from Jiang Shan in the future. It's okay for you young people to get in touch more." Jiang Huoyan said with a smile, "I really have no choice. The quota is fixed, and if you are added, you have to remove others. He is really an old fox, and he still has to give some benefits. It is estimated that those people gave gifts last night on the one hand, and they must have promised to find Jiang Huoyan as the guiding editor after the script is selected. The guiding editor can get 20% of the script fee." Chen Shiping had no choice but to smile and say, "Teacher Jiang, I was also planning to find you as the guiding editor. I was going to find you last night, but something happened and delayed it. I will treat you to dinner tonight." Jiang Huayan squinted at Chen Shiping, couldn't help but raise his hand, and knocked on his head and said, "You are playing this trick on me. Okay, let me think about it, and tell you, when I think of it." After that, Jiang Huayan rode away on his bike. Chen Shiping looked at his back, and couldn't help touching his chin. This old guy is too experienced. Chen Shiping had no other options now. He had already resorted to such childish tactics. He could only wait and see if Jiang Huayan would help him find a solution. During work in the afternoon, Chen Shiping had been waiting for Jiang Huayan to come up with some advice, but he still hadn't gotten it until after get off work. This old fox wouldn't play tricks on me. Chen Shiping couldn't help but feel suspicious, but he decided to wait another night. Coming out of the office, preparing to go back to the dormitory to walk the dog, Chen Shiping was stopped by Jiang Huayan before he had walked far. "Shipping, wait a minute." Chen Shiping looked back at Jiang Huayan, who was pushing his bicycle, knowing that he was here to give him some advice. "Teacher Jiang," Chen Shiping called affectionately. Jiang Huayan came over with his bicycle and said, "I have discussed with Leo Wang that the script of Zusangu and selling blood can be shown to Mr. Z. If he thinks it's good, he won't have to take up the quota." The Mr. Z that Jiang Huayan was talking about was not Director Z Li, but the real head of the literature department, Z Fengsang, who was currently busy with the script of the movie Red Mansions with Director Z. Chen Shiping was stunned for a moment and said, "Mr. Z is busy with the script of Dream of Red Mansions. He hasn't come to the office for a long time. Where can I find him? I'll take you to Mr. Z's house in the evening. It's 8 o'clock in the evening. I'm going home to eat first," Jiang Huayan said, and rode away on his bicycle. After he left, Chen Shiping slapped his head and wondered why he didn't think of looking for Mr. Z at the beginning. Chen Shiping quickly ran back to the dormitory to cook a pot of noodles to feed Hachiko, took it out for a walk to poop, and then went to Jiang Huayan's house. Go to eat for free. By the way, see if Jiang Shan is on vacation. If Jiang Huayan, the old fox, doesn't say good things for him in the evening, he will definitely trick Jiang Shan into his hand and let him know how powerful Huang Mao is. Chen Shiping just ran downstairs of Jiang Huayan's house, and before he had time to go upstairs, he saw him thumping downstairs. "Teacher Jiang, I'm just looking for you. Let's go upstairs and talk." Chen Shiping immediately went up to him and asked in a familiar manner, "What are we having for dinner?" "Jiang Shan must be back. I haven't talked to her for a long time. I'll go upstairs to see her." "Go to hell." Jiang Huayan grabbed Chen Shiping and said, "What time is it? You've already finished your meal. Come with me to Z's home." Chen Shiping dragged him away. When he looked back at the window of Jiang Huayan's house, he vaguely saw Jiang Shan waving at him. Jiang Shan really has a day off today. "Sister Jiang, wait until your brother comes back to dance with you." Chapter 9, The Boss's Approval. Go to Mr. Z later and perform well. There will be personnel changes in the factory this year. If you perform better, you may be promoted. Jiang Huayan earnestly told Chen Shiping downstairs at Mr. Z's house. Chen Shiping also became serious. Now he was just a small screenwriter in the editorial office of the literature department. If he could get a promotion, his salary would be increased. He must perform well. However, after knocking on Mr. Z's door, Chen Shiping was shocked by the situation inside. Director Z Li was also here. To be more precise, all the main creators of the movie Red Mansions were here. Chen Shiping saw Tao Human, Liu Xiaoqing, He King, Fu Yui and several unfamiliar actors sitting together drinking tea and chatting. "Huayan is here, come over quickly." Mr. Z, who was sitting on the sofa and wearing glasses, waved to Jiang Huayan. Chen Shiping followed Jiang Huayan in obediently. The living room of Mr. Z's house was not very big. The sofa was already full of people. Chen Shiping and Jiang Huayan sat on small stools. But after Chen Shiping sat down, he always felt that someone was looking at him, and the eyes were not very kind. After a sneaky glance, he found that it was Tao Human. Chen Shiping shrank his neck and sat next to Jiang Huayan. If memory serves me right, the original body harassed Tao Human, but was choked back. The original body was really daring, flirting with actresses everywhere. It would be fine if he flirted with those in the factory, but Tao Human, who was not from the factory, also went to flirt with her. Jiang Huiyan didn't notice Chen Shiping's little move and said to Mr. Z with a smile, "Mr. Z, I came here tonight to ask you to read a script." Mr. Z asked curiously, "What script? You and Ruteo can't make up your mind? The subject matter is quite sensitive. Leo Wang and I are not sure." Jiang Huiyan paused and said, "It was written by Shiping, and he even turned it into a novel. Yesterday, the editor-in-chief Kin of Contemporary even came to Shiping to finalize the manuscript." Ztili next to him also became interested, put down the cigarette in his hand, and said with a smile, "How sensitive can it be? Contemporary can publish it, so why can't it be made into a movie? Let me see it." Chen Shiping looked at Ztili with admiration. This is the confidence of a big boss. Look at the timid appearance of Jiang Huiyan and Wang Ruteo. There is no comparison. "Oh, Leo Qin is here?" Mr. Z's curiosity was completely uncontrollable. He immediately reached out to take the script and took a special look at Chen Shiping. He was not in the factory for the past few months, but he had heard of Chen Shiping's reputation and was very curious about what he could write. Everyone in the room turned their curious eyes to Chen Shiping. Even Tao Humin's eyes, which were originally defensive and with a hint of disgust, were now full of curiosity. This lecher can also write scripts and novels? Are you kidding me? Chen Shiping glanced at Tao Humin and smiled at her, but Tao Humin turned her head away in fear. Chen Shiping, am I smiling scary? In the spacious but crowded living room, the light of the white light tube illuminated the room. Several people sat on the 2-meter wide sofa. Chen Shiping sat on a wooden stool with a teacup in his hand, looking at the people opposite. The quality of the actors in the 1989 version of Red Mansions was much higher than Chen Shiping imagined, completely surpassing the 1986 version. Of course, we are only talking about appearance here. It's just that they were chatting happily, and Chen Shiping couldn't get a word in. They were discussing the script. Director Ztili and Mr. Z were reading the script in the study. The people in the living room didn't dare to speak too loudly. It seemed like they were sitting together whispering gossip. Chen Shiping was the one who was isolated, who told him that he was not from the Red Mansion crew, but it was nice to be able to quietly appreciate the beauty. The only drawback was that every time Tao Humin looked at her, she would turn her face away without leaving a trace. Tao Humin felt very uncomfortable sitting on the sofa. The white hollow cushion on the sofa was almost scratched by her. Her impression of Chen Shiping was frivolous. She always felt that his eyes were not well intentioned, but it was much better than the last time. Noticing that Chen Shiping glanced at her again, Tao Humin pursed her lips and couldn't help but glared at him. "Chen Shiping, if you don't want to see it, then don't see it. Without you, Linde Iu, I still have Zhu Baoche, Wang Zifeng and Qin Keqing to see. Speaking of which, there is not a single male actor in this room of main actors. Bao Iu is played by a female actress. How happy it would be to work in such a crew. No, it would be a waste of will. Shiping, come here." The door of the study suddenly opened, and Jiang Huiyan called Chen Shiping over. Chen Shiping immediately stood up and went to the study. The living room was quiet for a while. After he went in, several girls couldn't help but discuss in a low voice. However, Chen Shiping couldn't hear the content of the discussion. He was now facing Ztili's interrogation. It seemed that the boss didn't believe that he could write such a good script. "I heard from Huiyan that this script was written based on an old man who sold blood." Chen Shiping nodded honestly, recounted what he encountered in the hospital that day, and said some of his creative experience to increase credibility. After listening to Chen Shiping, Ztili sighed, as if he was lamenting life and lamenting fate. "You wrote very well, and wrote about an ordinary hero who is brave, responsible and daring to pursue his goals. But it is indeed a little sensitive. The biggest role of movies is to educate and entertain the public." Chen Shiping nodded to show his understanding, and said with a smile, "I understand that movies are facing different groups of people than novels, and may produce bad value orientation. Don't worry, the factory will have a meeting next week to let Feng Song bring it up for discussion." Ztili said with a smile, "The factory hasn't produced such a good script for a long time. It's a pity not to shoot it." Mr. Z also took the initiative to say, "If such a good script is given up, I don't have to do my job as the director of the literature department." Chen Shiping only heard one thing from the words of the two big guys. That is confidence. Work hard to climb up. Make yourself so confident in the future. After chatting in the study for more than 10 minutes, Chen Shiping and Jiang Huoyan took the initiative to say goodbye. Huoyan, Shiping, slow down. I won't see you off. Mr. Z pointed at the people in the living room and said, the scripts for the next few parts of Red Mansions have not been finalized yet. We have to continue. Don't be polite with us. We'll leave first. Jiang Huoyan said with a smile, you should also take care of your health. Staying up late is harmful to your health. Chen Shiping also said a few polite words and followed Jiang Huoyan out. As soon as the two of them left, Liu King, who was more straightforward, asked curiously, Director Z, what script did that kid write that made you pay so much attention to it? It's a good script, Ztili said, and didn't say anything more. Mr. Z was happy that the Department of Literature finally produced a talent and couldn't help but praise him a few more times. Isn't it said to be very sensitive? Can it be filmed? Liu King asked curiously. Mr. Z smiled and said, it should be possible. Let's talk about it at the factory meeting tomorrow. Let's first decide on the lines for Sister Feng to be jealous. Several girls looked at each other, feeling that Director Z and Mr. Z were very confident when they spoke. It seemed that this guy named Chen Shiping was chosen. Talhuman thought of Chen Shiping's embarrassed look when she just glared at him and suddenly felt that he didn't seem so frivolous. Downstairs of Jiang Huoyan's house, Chen Shiping stretched his head and glanced at Jiang Shan's window. What are you looking at? Jiang Huoyan slapped Chen Shiping on the head and said, don't set your sights on Shanshan. It's not against the law to look. Chen Shiping muttered, and when he saw that Jiang Huoyan was still trying to make a move, he ran away immediately. Old fox, sooner or later the will-o'-the-wisp will stop downstairs of your house. Chapter 10. You have a great memory. The spring sun shone brightly into the small single room, and the trapezoidal light spots on the ground and the shadows of the window frames turned into a grid. In addition to the bed and the table, the 11 square meter dormitory only had a washstand and a small stove, but such conditions were already good. There were several households in the tube building with 14 square meters, where 3 or 4 people lived. Otherwise, why would they cook in the corridor? After Chen Shiping simply washed up, he cooked white noodles for the dog and prepared to go out to eat something good. If he didn't eat something oily, he probably wouldn't be able to afford the manuscript fee. Shipping, it's so early. Are you going out? Yeah, I'm going out to buy buns. I'm almost dying, agreed, when I smell the delicious food from your family every day. Oh, then come to my place to eat. Why go out? No, I'm afraid you'll finish it. After you finish eating at his house, come to my place to eat. Chen Shiping came out, after talking and laughing with his colleagues and neighbors in the corridor. Chen Shiping's affairs have spread in the past few days. Since they are not in the same department, there is no competition, so they are naturally willing to build good relationships. After coming out of the yard, Chen Shiping sighed. This feeling is really good. After becoming famous, there are good people everywhere. This sentence is true. It's just that the people in the office are not very enthusiastic. Chen Shiping strolled to the entrance of the film academy, which had just moved in for more than a year. There were quite a lot of people buying breakfast here. Chen Shiping asked for 3 steamed buns in one breath, because he really didn't have the money to buy more. After eating 3 big meat buns happily, Chen Shiping walked back. The factory had a meeting today, and whether he could earn the script fee depended on today. As soon as Chen Shiping crossed the intersection, he saw a few young and beautiful girls coming out of the Beijing film guest house. They were the girls from the Red Mansion crew. Most of the actors in the Red Mansion crew were seconded from troops all over the country and lived in the Beijing film guest house. Looking at the backs of Tao Humin and Hisei, Chen Shiping didn't go over to say hello, so as to avoid being rolled eyes by Tao Humin. Although rolling eyes looks good, why embarrass yourself for no reason? Go back to the Red Mansion crew and get to know them slowly. Chen Shiping trotted past the girls and soon disappeared at the intersection. Fu Yui sighed as he watched Chen Shiping disappear from his back and pulled Tao Humin to ask, wasn't the screenwriter from yesterday the one who just passed by? What was his name? Hisei didn't go that night, so she didn't know what they were talking about. Tao Human next to her said directly, Chen Shiping. Yes, yes, Chen Shiping. Fu Yue smiled and said to Tao Human, you have a really good memory. I didn't even remember it. Tao Human's eyes flashed with embarrassment, and she hummed and didn't say anything. Chen Shiping returned to the office and sat for a while and was called by Jiang Huoyan to attend a meeting, but he was just listening in the corner. He didn't have the qualifications to sit at the table to participate in the discussion and speak, so it was good enough to be able to listen in. This meeting was of the same nature as the production meeting in the first few years, but it was not called that name now. The content of the meeting was still about the production of feature films. Chen Shiping heard that the factory had allocated more than 6 million yuan in funds to the Red Mansion crew, adding up to the previous total of 10 million yuan. 10 million. Chen Shiping couldn't help but be amazed. It was difficult for him to raise 100, but Director Z easily got 10 million. The gap was too big. The Red Mansion crew took 6 million, and the funds for the following films were seriously reduced. The Silver Snake Murder project only got a little over 1 million, and this project was directly allocated to Li Xiaohang. Chen Shiping saw that she seemed a little unhappy, but it's good to be able to make a movie. This is the ticket to the big screen. Directors these days want to make art films. Zhang Yimou's Red Sorghum was a success. Which of these new directors doesn't want to replicate such a success? After the discussion of the Silver Snake Murder ended, Mr. Z took the initiative to bring up Zusangu and Selling Blood, and everyone was given a script. After the script was distributed, someone smiled and said, I heard that editor-in-chief Qin Zhaoyang has come to finalize the script. Our factory has another writer. Yes, it seems to be a good script. Everyone in the conference room was discussing, and Chen Shiping sat in the corner and listened quietly, hoping that it would pass the review at the meeting. Colleagues from the literature department who came to listen to the meeting like Chen Shiping all looked at him with envy. No one expected that he would find an opportunity, even though there was no quota. How did this guy get the relationship with Director Z and Mr. Z? The most important thing is that his script was approved. This means that the script of one of them will be cut. There were also several people whose scripts were not discussed, and they looked at Chen Shiping with anger. After chatting for a while, everyone started to read the script. The meeting room soon became quiet. Not long after, the meeting room began to discuss again. Many people also turned their eyes to Chen Shiping, who was sitting in the corner and seemed surprised that he could write such a good script. Soon everyone finished reading, but no one spoke first. They all felt that this script was very tricky and not easy to deal with. Li Xiaohang seemed to be a little eager to move. Compared with the Silver Snake Murder case, she liked Zusangu and Selling Blood more. She even had a feeling that this script would not be worse than Red Sorghum. At this time, Mr. Z took the initiative to speak up and said, Director Z and I have discussed this script. It is a good script. Although there are many problems, we think it can be filmed. Director Hu Kaiming pondered for a while and said, it still needs to be revised before it can be filmed. ZT continued, then let's revise it. Let Shiping go back and revise it. Old Z will be the director. I feel that if this movie is made, it will not be worse than Red Sorghum. It may even be better. Hearing ZT's words, many directors present were a little impatient. Shoot. Must shoot. Can't let the Xiang studio steal the limelight. I think Director Z is right. Director, why don't you let me shoot this script? Aren't you going to be transferred to be a producer? Let me do it. I'm better at this kind of subject matter. Old Ma, don't fight for it. The factory has just assigned a project to you and Old Wang. Don't be greedy. The huge conference room was already a mess at this time. Directors who were interested in Zusangu and Selling Blood began to compete. Those who were not interested were silent, watching this scene with interest. The factory hadn't been so lively for a long time. Li Xiaohan looked at the Silver Snake Murder case in her hand and had no interest at all, but she also knew that she had no right to choose. It was good for a new director to get the project. Hu Kaiming looked at the noisy crowd and couldn't help but slap the table and said, stop arguing. The script hasn't been finalized yet, and you're starting to argue. As soon as the director spoke, the conference room suddenly became quiet. Even though he was going to retire this year, the director was the director, and no one could refute him. Director Z, who do you think is suitable in the factory? Hachiko looked at Ztili and asked. Ztili glanced at the activists and said, wait a minute, let's talk about it after the script is revised. The boss has spoken, so what else is there to say? Just shut up. This result is exactly what Hachiko wants. He will retire in 2 months, so he is too lazy to deal with such troubles. The topic of Susangu and selling blood was temporarily skipped. There were other projects to discuss later, and the meeting went on normally. When Susangu and selling blood is made into a movie, the choice of director must be communicated with Chen Shiping, the original author, which means that Chen Shiping has the opportunity to participate in the decision making. Chen Shiping was thinking about how to take advantage of this opportunity. Originally, he didn't think that Susangu and selling blood would be approved, so he didn't plan in this direction. But now the opportunity has come. He doesn't want to miss it. Susangu and selling blood is not just as simple as a script. When the new issue of Contemporary magazine comes out next month, it will be a classic novel. This gives Chen Shiping room to operate. Only by seizing this opportunity can you move faster in the factory. Who said that the screenwriter can't decide the director? Who said that the screenwriter can't control a movie project? Chen Shiping had to give it a try. Dear Godfathers, the last round of recommendations will be released the day after tomorrow. Everyone must read it, otherwise it will be too embarrassing to die in the first round. Thank you all Godfathers. Chapter 11 Who Smashed My Window? At 11 o'clock in the afternoon, when the sun was shining brightly, the factory committee meeting ended. When he came out of the meeting room, Chen Shiping was still met with the cold eyes of several colleagues whose scripts were rejected. In their minds, if it weren't for Chen Shiping's Susangu and selling blood, their scripts would definitely be selected. It's good that they didn't turn their faces directly after cutting off someone's financial resources. Chen Shiping didn't tolerate it and rolled his eyes directly. Who could he blame for his poor writing? Shiping, congratulations. I didn't expect that your script would be selected after all the twists and turns. The colleagues who also passed the script said to Chen Shiping with a smile. Now they have all succeeded, that is, they are in the winner's camp. In the past few days, they have been watching Chen Shiping show off in the literature department, and now they have finally found a chance to experience this feeling. Chen Shiping smiled and replied as he walked, your fireworks tears was also selected. I can say that good things come after many twists and turns. If it wasn't written well, it wouldn't have passed today. The vision of the factory leaders is beyond reproach. Those who were already unhappy because they were not selected heard Chen Shiping say such words, and they were even more angry. Who is he saying is not good? The leader has a good vision, so he didn't choose us, right? The villain succeeded. Chen Shiping looked at their angry expressions and deliberately congratulated the other colleagues who were selected. You disgust me, so I disgust you. People who can't write scripts well will not be a threat to him in the future. Those people were disgusted by Chen Shiping and ran away quickly. They couldn't write scripts, and they couldn't be sarcastic. They were so angry. How could he be stupid and stupid? Ah, I'm so angry. After going down 2 floors, Mr. Z suddenly called Chen Shiping from behind. Shiping, come to my house in the evening and talk about the script. You can also go to the Red Mansion crew later. If you have any questions, you can communicate directly. Chen Shiping was of course happy to accept such an unexpected surprise and agreed immediately. He was happier than he had just been arguing with people. Mr. Z is so nice. He also took the initiative to invite him to join the group. He was still thinking about what excuse to use to apply to join the Red Mansion crew. Being in the same crew with the boss. Are you still worried about not being promoted? What a joke. Promotion and salary increase are just around the corner. The opportunity to control Susangu and selling blood is right in front of you. Chen Shiping and Mr. Z chatted for a few more words and then parted ways. One went back to the Department of Literature to work, and the other went to attend the symposium on the Dream of the Red Chamber. Next time, Chen Shiping will also find an opportunity to participate in the Creation Symposium on the Dream of the Red Chamber. Discussing the script with a group of girls is better than being weird with those old men in the Department of Literature. After Chen Shiping returned to the Department of Literature, he was surrounded by his colleagues. When they were in the conference room before, they were curious about how Chen Shiping impressed Mr. Z. Now that he was selected, they naturally came to ask about the situation. Those who took the initiative to talk to Chen Shiping were those who did not hand in their scripts or were selected. Those who were eliminated were depressed at this time and felt annoyed when they saw Chen Shiping. Chen Shiping paused and smiled modestly. Teacher Jiang was right before. We can't occupy the quota. That's why Teacher Jiang took me to see Mr. Z. After this explanation, everyone's attitude towards Chen Shiping improved a lot. At least he didn't occupy their quota in the literature department at the beginning, which was not bad. The office was full of joy and sorrow. Those who were selected were naturally happy, while those who were not selected forced smiles and congratulations, and then cursed in their hearts. Chen Shiping also laughed for a while, and then sat back in his seat. He was thinking about the production style of the studio in recent years. From the projects approved today, it can be clearly seen that they are trying to move towards the direction of genre films and commercial films. Silver Snake Murder Case, Wasteland Killer, Searching for the Devil, Fireworks Tears, Great Detective, and Thief Master are all genre films. However, most of them just sound very commercial, but in fact they have not escaped the influence of realistic themes. The audience still prefers literary and artistic films and realistic films. The literary craze in the 1980s still directly affects the audience's preferences and indirectly affects the market. When Red Sorghum was first released, the ticket price of a few cents was raised to 5 to 10 yuan. The whole street was singing Girl, Go Forward Boldly, and the popularity was not comparable to that of ordinary movies. Movies still have to adapt to the market. It was not long before it was time to get off work at noon, and those whose scripts were selected were invited to treat each other, and Chen Shiping was no exception. In the end, Chen Shiping could only use the reason that Mr. Z asked him to discuss the script, and then those jealous guys let him go. Chen Shiping would not treat them to a meal. Those who were not selected just now rolled their eyes at him. Chen Shiping now has to go back and think about how to use this opportunity to make a further step forward. In a month or two, the personnel in the factory will change. If he doesn't seize this opportunity, he doesn't know when he will be promoted. When Chen Shiping came out of the office, he was stopped by someone. The person who stopped him was none other than Li Xiaohong, whom Chen Shiping had paid attention to at the meeting before. Is it convenient for us to chat? Li Xiaohong said with a smile. How about I treat you to a meal? Chen Shiping, who originally wanted to refuse, immediately brightened up and agreed on the spot. It's good to have a meal, even if it's a roadside stall. But just a few steps away from the main building, Chen Shiping and Li Xiaohong met another director who also wanted to talk to Chen Shiping. Chen Shiping immediately understood that both of them wanted to be the director of Zusangu and selling blood. If it was one person, Chen Shiping could still shamelessly go for a meal, but it would be difficult for him to do it with two people. Going to eat with anyone means rejecting the other person, and it's not easy for him to do such a thing now. This meal can't be eaten, or go back to eat noodles. Chen Shiping, who went home to prepare noodles, walked in the corridor of the tube building and felt that his saliva was about to flow down. There is no separate kitchen in the tube building. Every household either uses a public kitchen or sets up a gas stove at the door of the house. When it's time for dinner, the corridor is so fragrant. Chen Shiping closed his lips and breathed through his nose. When someone greeted him, he would nod his head, fearing that he would drool when he opened his mouth. Whose stewed spare ribs are these? They smell so damn good. Go home quickly. Don't let desire break your will. Woof woof woof. As soon as the door opened, Hachiko started barking, holding his head high and trying to run out, sniffing with his little nose. Useless dog cultivation. Chen Shiping wiped the corner of his mouth and cursed Hachiko inwardly. Let's cook noodles. Add more soy sauce today. The noodles are really bad. Chen Shiping sniffed hard, smelling the rib smell coming in. Bang. Before Chen Shiping finished eating the noodles in his mouth, a stone flew in through the window he had pasted a few days ago and landed directly in Hachiko's dog bowl. White noodles flew everywhere, and Hachiko's head was covered with noodles, howling. Chen Shiping immediately walked to the window and shouted angrily, "Who threw it? I was eating noodles, and you smashed my dog bowl." The gangster who had just thrown the stone was stunned for a moment. What the hell? Dog bowl? Eating noodles? Chen Shiping's brain must have been damaged. The gangster listened to Chen Shiping's machine gun-like curses, shrank his neck and walked away. Crazy. What if he jumps down, to fight me to death. I have been collecting debts for so many years, and I have seen people who are forced to fight to the death. After cursing for a few minutes, Chen Shiping was tired. Suddenly, he saw Baigong running over with a stone in his mouth. There was a rope tied to the stone and a letter. He opened it and saw a sentence on it. Tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock, Zhejiang Tea House. It was the group of people who traded foreign exchange certificates. Chen Shiping narrowed his eyes and felt that this matter must be resolved as soon as possible. Otherwise he would not be able to live like this. The script manuscript fee cannot be obtained now, but the novel manuscript fee should be available. The magazine should have completed the accounting process. I will go to the magazine to ask tomorrow. The curtain of this book is about to be opened, and Comrade Shiping will begin to reach the top step by step. Chapter 12 Debt Free. The next morning, Chen Shiping asked for leave and went to the Contemporary magazine. After arriving at the Contemporary magazine, Chen Shiping chatted with Qin Zhaoyang for a while and found that the editor-in-chief had a really good personality and was very supportive of newcomers. He taught Chen a lot of writing problems. You are very talented. I rarely see someone write a long novel for the first time, and it is so good. It seems that the literary world will have another talented person. Qin Zhaoyang was really optimistic about Chen Shiping. At the age of 25, he could write such a good novel. It is not an exaggeration to describe him as a genius. Chen Shiping said modestly that he still had to learn and would work harder in the future, which made Qin Zhaoyang praise him again. After chatting for almost an hour, Chen Shiping said goodbye and took the manuscript fee and left. With more than 3,000 yuan in hand, Chen Shiping was almost floating when he walked. Although he could only hold it in his hands for a short time, he couldn't help but feel happy. This was the first money he earned since he came here, and it also solved a big problem for him. While it was still early, Chen Shiping went to Zhejiang Tea House with a huge sum of money to solve his worries, so that he could happily eat spare ribs in the evening. Chen Shiping came to the door of Zhejiang Tea House, went in and reported his name, and was taken in by the waiter. Zhejiang Tea House has 4 floors and is very luxuriously decorated. There are still capable people among the Wenzhou gang. The first group of people who came to Beijing in the late 1970s have been here for more than 10 years, and those who are bolder have made it. Chen Shiping was taken to the door of a private room. After pushing the door open, he did not see his creditor brother Yang, but only saw a little girl with a ponytail sitting there drinking tea. Chen Shiping was stunned for a moment, suspecting that he had entered the wrong private room. You're not in the wrong place. Xinmihua put down the teacup in her hand, looked at him and said, your name is Chen Shiping, right? You owe my brother 3,200 yuan. After hearing the other side say his name and the amount of debt, Chen Shiping walked in and took the money out of his pocket and said, the money is here. Where is the IOU? Xinmihua didn't even look at the money, poured a cup of tea and said, sit down, have a cup of tea. Chen Shiping didn't know what she wanted to do, but he was not afraid. How could a little girl beat him? The ones who cheated you of money were arrested 2 days ago. Xinmihua looked at the money Chen Shiping put on the table, paused and said, but it's not because of fraud, it's because of reselling foreign exchange certificates. I heard that they will be sentenced to a heavy sentence. Chen Shiping asked in confusion, why are you telling me this? Xinmihua looked at Chen Shiping's seriousness and didn't see the joy of revenge. She was a little surprised. It seems that he is not the kind of gangster. Regardless of who Chen Shiping was, Xinmihua didn't care and just said seriously, don't touch this anymore, and don't come to my brother to borrow money. We won't lend money anymore. We won't charge you interest this time, but you have to keep your mouth shut. Chen Shiping came to his senses. No wonder brother Yang disappeared. He must have gone into hiding. Chen Shiping pushed the money forward and said, thank you for reminding me. There won't be a next time. Take the money and return the IOU to me. Xinmihua took out the IOU and handed it to Chen Shiping, who also pushed the money over. Xinmihua didn't take all of it, but only took 2,600 and returned the remaining 600 to Chen Shiping. We're even now. Chen Shiping put the IOU in his pocket and said. Xinmihua nodded and said, if there is a legitimate business to cooperate with in the future, I wish you all the best in the future. Chen Shiping looked at Xinmihua and paused before saying, I hope we will have the opportunity to cooperate again in the future. You are more suitable for business than your brother. I wish you a successful transformation." After the two shook hands, Chen Shiping turned and left. Now he is really debt free. There were no bustling pedestrians on the streets in the afternoon, only a few vendors riding tricycles and selling along the street. When Chen Shiping passed by a bookstall, he was attracted by the stall owner's slogan, "The latest masterpiece of the master of sexual literature Junichi Watanabe, Hungry Desire." Chen Shiping dared to bet that, although Junichi Watanabe was a writer of erotic novels, he definitely did not write this book. However, the passers-by around did not know, and they all gathered around to look through the books on the bookstall. New books have arrived. 18-year-old babysitter, Passionate Love, Lost Woman. Chen Shiping looked at the beautiful women illustrations on the books with unusually full colors and couldn't help but feel curious, not to mention the passers-by. A group of people gathered around the bookstall to select novels with explosive titles and gorgeous illustrations. Chen Shiping was very curious and bought a copy of Hungry Desire. He mainly wanted to learn about the street literature of this era and definitely didn't want to read The Emperor's Uncle. Chen Shiping knew very well that these novels with the names of foreign writers were all written by domestic writers. They were all pirated novels published by pirated writers looking for pirated booksellers. The sales of these novels were higher than those of many genuine novels, and Chen Shiping was a little tempted. As far as he knew, a group of foreign novelists who wrote street literature were arrested in 1992. According to statistics, each of these writers was a wealthy man worth hundreds of thousands. Street literature is also literature, as long as it can make money. Chen Shiping asked himself if he had no literary character, otherwise he would not have written Zusangu and Selling Blood. Who would plagiarize? Chen Shiping touched his empty pockets and began to think about how to write street literature, earn more money, so that he can use it in the future. The factory is in such financial difficulties now. Maybe one day he will have to go out and attract investment. Chen Shiping went home with a copy of Hungry Desire. He ate 3 pounds of ribs, and Baegong ate 2 pounds. Well, Baegong ate 1 pound, and I ate 4 pounds. The tea was sent to Mr. Z. Taking the opportunity of asking for advice on revising the script, we must establish the teacher-student friendship. Carrying the ribs back to the dormitory, Chen Shiping saw Liu King leaning against the door of his dormitory and chatting with neighbors. As soon as he went upstairs, "Are you here to see me?" Chen Shiping asked curiously. Liu King nodded and said, "I saw your original script. I think I'm very suitable for the heroine in it. What do you think?" "Not very good. I'm just an author. You have to ask the director about this." Chen Shiping took out the key to open the door, but there were too many things in his hand, which was a bit inconvenient. Liu King took the initiative to help take the book from his hand and said, "It's not that we haven't decided on a director yet, and the author's opinion is very important. I hope you can recommend me when the director is decided later." Chen Shiping looked at the book that Liu King took away and coughed awkwardly, fearing that she would find out that she bought the book about the Emperor's Uncle. "Well, let's talk about it when we go to Z's house tonight. I'm going to find Z to revise the script tonight." Chen Shiping said quickly, opened the door, put down the things in his hand, and turned to take the book from Liu King. Liu King saw that Chen Shiping had no intention of inviting him in, so he stood at the door without moving and said with a smile, "Okay, see you at Z's house tonight." After Liu King left, Chen Shiping breathed a sigh of relief. The image he had just reversed could not be ruined by a book about the Emperor's Uncle, so he quickly hid it. In the dormitory, Chen Shiping stewed pork ribs with water, and soon the small single room was filled with the aroma of meat. Chen Shiping smelled the meat with satisfaction and expectation, and Hachiko also wagged his tail and stared at Chen Shiping. Chen Shiping wanted to drink some wine, but he had to go to Z's home in the evening, so he could only hold back. The soup in the aluminum pot on the stove kept boiling. Chen Shiping couldn't wait to poke a piece of pork ribs with chopsticks. It was still not cooked through, but Chen Shiping couldn't bear it any longer. Just as he was about to take out a piece to taste, he heard a knock on the door outside. Chen Shiping put down his chopsticks helplessly and ran to open the door. The person outside the door was Li Xiaohan. This time he came straight to the point and said that he wanted to invite him to dinner and talk about the director of Zusangu and Selling Blood. Chen Shiping looked back at the ribs that were about to be out of the pot and decisively refused. Goodbye. After seeing Li Xiao hung off, Chen Shiping looked at the ribs in the pot and suddenly smiled. He was the ribs in the pot now, and everyone wanted to try it. Zusanguan selling blood was first taken away by Contemporary, so it was considered an adapted work. The studio really had to ask the author for his opinion. Directors who are interested in Zusanguan selling blood will definitely come to find me. I have become very popular all of a sudden. Forget about them. Let's eat the ribs first. Chen Shiping scooped up several pieces, blew them down, and threw one piece to Bagong. Then he took the ribs, dipped them in soy sauce, and stuffed them directly into his mouth. Huff, huff, huff. Chen Shiping blew air from the burn, but he was reluctant to spit out the meat in his mouth. The meaty aroma in his mouth made Chen Shiping's tears of happiness flow from the corners of his mouth. Mom, the ribs are so delicious. After eating, I'm going to please the boss. I don't know if Mr. Z will like the tea that costs 10 yuan a pound. I had something urgent to do today and went out for dinner. I was an hour late. Sorry, I will definitely be on time next time. Chapter 13 The Art of Communication. Knock, knock, knock. In the warm and spacious living room, Chen Shiping had just handed the tea he bought to Mr. Z when there was a knock on the door. After Mr. Z handed the tea to his wife with a smile, he said to Chen Shiping, "Shiping, help me open the door. It should be Zio Tao and the others coming." Chen Shiping sighed and ran to open the door happily. He should be a guest as well, but now he asked himself to open the door, which means that Mr. Z treated him as his own. The script was not written in vain, the tea was not given in vain, and Mr. Z was not called in vain. 6 or 7 girls outside the door stood in the corridor waiting for the door to be opened, but they didn't expect that it was Chen Shiping who opened the door. Several girls were stunned for a moment, and before they could react, they heard Chen Shiping say, "Please come in, it's still quite cold outside." Liu Xiaoqing was the first to react. She smiled and went in, and greeted Chen Shiping in a familiar way. She was thinking about getting close to Chen Shiping so that she could say good things for her when filming Zusanguan in the future. The others also nodded politely to Chen Shiping. Only Tao Human glanced at Chen Shiping, not knowing whether to say hello. After the girls went in and sat down, Chen Shiping took the initiative to help pour tea, and when he handed the tea to Tao Human, she whispered thank you. Chen Shiping said you're welcome, and handed a cup of tea to Hisei, who played Miao Yu, and his eyes lingered on the face of this famous Yu opera actress for a moment. Chen Shiping liked the third concubine in Raise the Red Lantern too much, and that role was played by Hisei. Hisei noticed Chen Shiping's gaze, and subconsciously touched her face, wondering why he was looking at her like that. "Shiping, you are really provocative." Liu Xiaoqing suddenly interrupted the somewhat awkward atmosphere, and said with a smile, "I used to pour tea, but now you have taken it away." Chen Shiping said with a smile, "Nowadays, people should be gentlemanly. It is unreasonable to let girls take action." Chen Shiping's words made everyone in the room laugh, and then they sat down to wait for Director Z to come. Director Z lived not far away, but he was old and not as energetic as the young people to come and wait early. Not long after, Director Z arrived with his people, and the script discussion of Red Mansions officially began. Chen Shiping sat aside and listened. He was not clear about the current progress of the script of Red Mansions, and it was not easy to make any comments. The film version of Red Mansions has a total of 6 parts and 8 episodes. It started filming last year, and only the first part has been filmed so far. Now they are discussing the second part. The script was written by Mr. Z and Director Z. The actors only came to study the script, and Director Z and Mr. Z made adjustments according to the situation. Chen Shiping was sitting nearby, not idle either. He was also thinking about how to modify the script of Zusanguan selling blood. Many of the plots of special historical periods in Zusanguan selling blood are too sensitive, and these backgrounds and influences must be downplayed. Historical mistakes cannot be brought up and talked about all the time. 2 years ago, when director Zijing was filming Furong Town, he suffered a lot of pressure and criticism. That was Zijing, and he almost didn't make it. You can imagine how difficult it would be to film Zusanguan selling blood. Another key issue is that Zusanguan survived the difficulties again and again by selling blood, just like suffering pushing people to a dead end. Isn't this pointing at someone's nose and scolding him? Chen Shiping was thinking about how to downplay these influences, otherwise it would be difficult to pass the review. On the other side, Mr. Z and his team had already gone through the script of Fengji throwing Vinegar. During the break, Mr. Z called Chen Shiping to the study. "Do you have any ideas for changing the script?" Mr. Z said with a smile, while smoking a cigarette. Chen Shiping nodded and said, "Yes, but I haven't figured out how to change it yet. Historical errors need to be downplayed, otherwise the impact will be too bad." Old Z nodded and said, "It's similar to what I thought, but not as serious as you said. Director Z and I have also thought about these problems. I'll pick out some of the more serious ones for you." After saying that, Old Z handed some of the problems he had listed to Chen Shiping and said, "Take a look first. Some of the more sensitive issues should be as vague as possible." Director Z also interjected, "The pressure to film it must be great. I'm very optimistic about your script. As long as you can withstand the pressure, it will definitely become a classic." Chen Shiping's heart moved, and he said seemingly complainingly, "I would like to withstand this pressure, but I'm not qualified. I have to find a good director." "You are a cunning boy." Ztili laughed, pointed at Chen Shiping and said, "You want to find a tall guy like me to support you." Old Z couldn't help shaking his head and said, "Director Z still has to shoot Red Mansions. Don't think about it now. Change the script first." Chen Shiping smiled innocently and said, "Then I'll revise it slowly and wait until Red Mansions is finished." You. Director Z quite liked Chen Shiping like this, at least he didn't hide anything. Then Chen Shiping, Mr. Z and Director Z sat in the study to discuss how to revise the script. Outside the study, the people from the Red Mansions crew had also gone through the script several times, and now they were all sitting and chatting. Director Z and Mr. Z really value Chen Shiping. "I heard that the studio held a meeting today to discuss Chen Shiping's script. I heard that Director Z and Mr. Z attach great importance to this script. Sister Zyraking, have you read the script? What is it about?" There were not many girls from the Beijing film studio, so naturally they asked Liu Zyraking, the big sister. Liu Zyraking smiled and said, "I have read it, but I can't tell you. You can read it after the novel is published. It is a very good script." Director Z said that it will not be worse than Red Sorghum after it is filmed. Tao Human did not participate in the discussion and sat by the side without saying anything. However, she was very curious in her heart. She even thought that, if she was transferred to the Beijing film studio, she might be able to act. Liu Zyraking didn't know that the weak Lin Dai was also interested in her. It seemed that she, Wang Zifeng, would have to compete with Lin Dai outside the play. Not long after, Chen Shiping and Zi Leo came out of the study. They went through the issues that needed to be discussed. Chen Shiping went back to revise the script. After coming out, Chen Shiping said hello to the girls and left. He did not stay to continue to show his presence. It was enough to please the boss and revise the script. He didn't want to get close to the girls. Anyway, he would be able to join the Red Mansion crew in a few days, and there would be plenty of time later. Besides, when he became famous and had a status, it was not certain who would please whom. After Chen Shiping went back, he couldn't sleep. After reorganizing the problems that Mr. Z had mentioned, he began to think about how to revise it. The Red Mansion crew also entered the Grandview Garden and started to continue filming. Chen Shiping didn't follow immediately. He had to revise a version of the script before he could go to Mr. Z. Otherwise, if he went in and pestered Mr. Z for advice, it would seem that he was not serious. It took Chen Shiping a week to revise a version. He basically revised the problems raised by Mr. Z, but he didn't revise them to the best state at one time. Chen Shiping deliberately kept these problems. He had to find an excuse to ask Mr. Z for advice. Otherwise, how could this master-disciple friendship be established? On the last day of April, Chen Shiping received a call from the editor-in-chief Kin of Contemporary in the literature department. Zusangu and Selling Blood had been published in the latest issue of the magazine. Chen Shiping went to buy a contemporary magazine early the next morning. When he saw Zusangu and Selling Blood and the author's name behind it in the novel column, he was very happy. This feeling is so good. However, challenges are coming. After the publication of Zusangu and Selling Blood, it will inevitably attract discussions and heated debates. Chen Shiping feels that he will not be able to live a peaceful life for some time in the future. Not to mention the reaction of the literary world. Even the directors in the factory will have to come to him every day. Chen Shiping bought several magazines and went to the Red Mansion crew with the magazines and the revised script. When Chen Shiping went to the Red Mansion crew, many copies of this issue of Contemporary magazine were sold. Literature lovers from all over the country noticed that there was a new novel in this issue of novels. Yu Hua, who was taking a preparatory class for postgraduate studies at Peking University, also bought a copy and was reading it in the dormitory. More than an hour later, Yu Hua finished reading the first half of Zusangu and Selling Blood, and he always had a weird feeling in his heart. It's so well written. It's really awesome. Who is this Chen Shiping? Why haven't I heard of him? Chapter 14. Wherever there are people, there is a world of martial arts. At the entrance of the Grandview Garden on the North Second Ring Road, Chen Shiping took out his work permit and went in. After entering, Chen Shiping was attracted by the scenery inside. In the spring season, the flowers and plants inside are beautiful. The antique buildings built completely in accordance with the Red Mansion are magnificent, especially when Chen Shiping saw the actors in ancient costumes walking through them. He really felt like traveling through time. Especially when he saw Tao Humin standing under the peach tree. It really seemed like he saw Sister Lin. Chen Shiping looked at Tao Humin, who was carrying a small hoe and hanging a bamboo basket, and immediately knew that what was being filmed today was Dayu burying flowers. It was a coincidence today that he could see such a classic scene. Chen Shiping walked around to Ziti with a book in his arms and was now talking about the play. Seeing Chen Shiping coming over, several people took the initiative to say hello, and Tao Human also nodded softly to Chen Shiping. This is in the role, but Tao Human's version of Sister Lin does not have the feeling of Lin Duidu. The feeling she played was more like a cute and lovely little girl, which was completely different from Chen Xiaox's aloof, sensitive, fragile and sickly. To be honest, Chen Shiping preferred the feeling of Lin Duidu, but Tao Human's appearance was more than one level better. Chen Shiping took advantage of the cruise break and handed his revised script and the Contemporary magazine he bought to Mr. Z. Mr. Z, this is the script I just revised, Chen Shiping said with a smile. Mr. Z did not read the script, but was very interested in the Contemporary magazine handed over by Chen Shiping. He looked through the catalog and said with a smile, published. It's a good time to take a look. Chen Shiping smiled and nodded and gave another one to Ziti. Ziti also took the magazine and said with interest, it's just what the novel is like. Chen Shiping looked at the two remaining copies in his hand, turned around and gave them to Lin Dayu and Baoyu. Tao Human hesitated for a moment and reached out to take it, and she and Xia King gathered together to open the magazine and read it. These days they are very curious about what Chen Shiping wrote. At this time, the crew was taking a break. Ziti was fascinated by the contemporary drama. Chen Shiping was also happy about this. The more the boss liked it, the better. This way, there would be a chance for promotion and salary increase. Zileo read the novel for a while and put it down. He picked up the script that Chen Shiping had revised and discussed it with him. The revision is good, but there are still many problems. For example, the part about the Great Famine should be weakened appropriately, especially the ending. It is not good for Zhu Sanguan to suffer alone on the street. It is better to be brighter. Chen Shiping said modestly, I still lack experience. Then I will go back and revise it. I will come to consult you tomorrow. Zileo closed the script and said, it's okay, take your time. It's a good opportunity to see the response after the novel is published. If the response is good, maybe the script doesn't need to be changed. After the two chatted for a few more sentences, Chen Shiping took the initiative to turn the topic to the script of The Dream of the Red Chamber. He couldn't always come under the excuse of asking Zhu Sanguan for advice on the script. It would be best to participate in the creation of the script of The Dream of the Red Chamber and finally add his own name to the screenwriter column. The 120 chapters of The Red Mansion were compressed into 6 parts and 8 episodes. There were too many places that needed to be changed, and the version that was continued by Gaoi was adopted. Some characters in the book were changed a lot, and Mr. Z and Ziti were also melancholy. After Chen Shiping flipped through the script for a while, he found several problems. Mr. Z, there are some problems with the character of Jia Mu. The contrast between the beginning and the end is quite big. I think it would be better to weaken her image of a kind mother and make her more scheming to be more in line with the overall character image. And the part where Mayao appears, the part she tells alone takes up a lot of space, and Mayao herself does not have a heavy role. It would be better to introduce her in the poem of Baoiu and Ayu's conversation, so that the plot rhythm will be more compact. Chen Shiping pointed to the sentence in the script that said, "The jade is fragrant on a quiet day." "That's a good idea," Zitili, who had been reading, suddenly said. Chen Shiping turned his head and found that he had put down the Contemporary magazine. After thinking for a while, Mr. Z also felt that this idea was very good, so he smiled and nodded and said, "Shiping, you have a sharp mind and are a good candidate for being a screenwriter, but you are unwilling to put in the effort to revise your own script." Chen Shiping blushed when Mr. Z said that, and his little thoughts were seen through. Zitili laughed and said, "I'm reluctant to change my own things. After reading the novel, I understand Shiping's thoughts. It is really well written. It is a waste to change the script at all." Mr. Z adjusted his glasses, wrote down Chen Shiping's opinions in the notebook and said, "That's right. Your own children are different from others." After chatting about the script for a few words, Chen Shiping did not say anything else. If he said too much, it would be disrespectful to the leader, but he had to say it, otherwise how could he highlight his talent? Other suggestions would not be so abrupt if they were said when there were more people in the meeting. Soon the crew was about to shoot again. While the staff were preparing, Talhuman also put down the magazine in her hand and looked at Chen Shiping with a complicated and inquiring look. How could such a frivolous person write such profound things? The sadness and humor in the writing are very well integrated, which makes people feel sad and infected by Zeus' anger and strength. "You write very well." Talhuman hesitated for a while, but couldn't help but take the initiative to talk to Chen Shiping. Chen Shiping smiled and said, "Thank you for the compliment. I will send you another copy when the book is published. It's not easy to have a celebrity reader. Xiao Tao, come over to film." Director Z called out from a distance, and Talhuman didn't care to talk to Chen Shiping, which was regarded as tacit consent that Chen Shiping would send him a book next time. Chen Shiping couldn't help but smile as he watched Talhuman carrying a small hoe and walking into the peach blossom forest. Isn't this a relationship? And he doesn't have to take the initiative to apologize for his previous behavior. However, when Chen Shiping turned around, he saw Mr. Z looking at him with a smile, and Chen Shiping immediately showed a simple smile. Sly ghost. Mr. Z cursed with a smile and took the initiative to call Chen Shiping to come and discuss the script of the Red Mansion with him. Although Chen Shiping is not a radiology scholar, as a very spiritual screenwriter, he can come up with many interesting ideas. There are many people in the Red Mansion's drama writing team, and Chen Shiping's sudden joining made many people feel a little bit uncomfortable. Everyone wants to be favored in front of the leader and want to add their names to the screenwriter column. Chen Shiping's sudden appearance made them feel a sense of urgency of crisis and competition. Where there are people, there are rivers and lakes, and this cannot be avoided. Chen Shiping didn't care, but in the subsequent discussions, whenever he made suggestions, he would be refuted. It's unbearable to see Chen Shiping so prominent as soon as he came. Everyone wants to stand out, and it doesn't make sense to be surpassed by you who came later. I think Xiao Chen's suggestion just now is not good. Fengji's image has been determined. It's not good to change it later. That's right, Xiao Chen's suggestion is still inappropriate. Jiamu and Fengji have become calculating villains. Chen Shiping listened to them calling him Xiao Chen, and he felt very uncomfortable. It was nothing more than hinting that he was new and had no qualifications. If it's not changed, the character will have no sense of existence and be chaotic. If you want everything, the final result is nothing. Chen Shiping also indulged them and said directly, if this is the case, why not make a TV series and shoot it directly according to the TV version? After listening for a while, Mr. Z said directly, stop arguing and wait for Director Z to decide. Chen Shiping was still very confident in his suggestions. He had seen the movie version of Red Mansions and knew what the image of Fengji was like. His suggestions would most likely be adopted. Not long after, the writer who had finished shooting a scene came back. After listening to Mr. Z's talk about the controversy just now, he thought for a while and said, Shipping's suggestion is very good. The length of the movie is limited. It is inevitable that the characterization must be more intuitive. Let's change it according to Shipping's suggestion. After Director Z made the decision, no one else said anything. What else can they do? They can only watch Chen Shiping steal the show. However, there are still people who feel uncomfortable and deliberately say, Zio Chen has provided very good suggestions. As soon as he came, I think your name will appear in the screenwriter column with Mr. Z and Director Z. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15 Zio Beike becomes Linduodu. The spring sunshine is really warm, and Chen Shiping likes the feeling of being illuminated by the sunshine. A wild dog that gets up on a snowy night likes the spring flowers the most. What he hates the most is people who want to kick him back into the mud. Chen Shiping looked at the screenwriter who deliberately praised him. He didn't know where Mr. Z found him from, but he was not a colleague in the factory. In this case, there is no need to be polite. Chen Shiping wanted to smoke a cigarette to increase his momentum, but unfortunately he didn't have one in his pocket. If my name can appear with Mr. Z and Director Z, it would be my honor and the result of my hard work, not by talking. Chen Shiping looked straight into the man's eyes, and then swept his eyes around the people watching the show. There was anger and shame in their eyes, but the tall Chen Shiping stood up and looked down with momentum that made them speechless. People who almost died once are still afraid of you who can only talk! Exclamation mark. Tao Human, who had just finished work and packed up her things, looked at the absurd scene in front of her strangely. Is Chen Shiping scolding people? Those are all seniors, isn't he afraid? But this kind of Chen Shiping refreshed her cognition again. Why does he feel different every time he sees him? Of course Chen Shiping is not afraid. There will definitely be many people targeting him in the future. If he pretends to be a dog every time, he will not be able to survive. Ztili and Mr. Z looked at this scene without saying anything, but there was no intention of blaming Chen Shiping in their eyes. Young people should have this kind of enthusiasm. Being too old and smooth will make them lose their vitality. Ztili looked at the questions raised by Chen Shiping just now, and suddenly said, whether to add a name or not is something we consider. If Shiping can continue to propose adaptation suggestions, it is understandable to add it. As soon as Ztili said this, those who originally had other thoughts in their hearts were all dumbfounded in an instant. How could it really be added? Can you take back the flattery just now? Chen Shiping was relieved to see Ztili supporting him. It seems that he made the right bet. Half of Zusangu and selling blood has gained a big book fan. Sure enough, writing books is the kingly way in this era. As long as you don't write to death, write to death. Whether you are humble or smooth, you can gain a certain amount of favor, but if you don't have sharpness and confidence, you can only gain a little favor. Where can you get opportunities without fighting or competing? Ztili's direct affirmation ended this invisible friction. He didn't favor Chen Shiping, but just admired him. He was able to put forward so many useful opinions just after joining the group, and the novels he wrote were also very good. Talented young people are naturally popular. The most important thing is that Chen Shiping is one of us, so there is no problem in promoting newcomers. Old Z just smiled. Most of these people were invited by him. It's not easy to speak for Chen Shiping openly, but he won't criticize Chen Shiping. The crew has started to pack up. Chen Shiping is a big idler. He looks bored at Tao Human, who is standing under the peach tree not far away to appreciate the flowers. Tao Human looks absolutely beautiful in the falling peach blossoms. There is nothing to be picky about this. It's just that she looks very lifeless with a sad and resentful look. The breeze blew by, blowing up Tao Human's black hair, which looked very beautiful. Tao Human is really suitable for a role like Zio Beike, and she doesn't feel like Linduodu at all. I still like Linduodu, who can be yin and yang. It's my fault to call her brother. It feels so good. Chen Shiping suspected that he had a tendency to be masochistic. Linduodu, who was not Linduodu, made Chen Shiping lose a lot of interest. He looked away after a few glances. Directors he had sorted out all the opinions Chen Shiping had just raised and came over and asked, "Your idea is very interesting. How did you think of overturning the image of Fengji and Jiamu?" Chen Shiping sorted out his thoughts and said, "Procedural. They were all influenced by the TV version, and their minds automatically put the characters in such a position. In fact, putting the characters in the position where they least want them to appear, a place that they feel is very dangerous, so that they can stand out." After listening, Ztili thought for a while and felt that Chen Shiping's statement was very interesting. It felt a bit unorthodox, but it made sense when he thought about it carefully. "Your point is very interesting. You should formally join the script creation. Maybe you can provide some different opinions." Chen Shiping immediately said with a smile on his face, "I will definitely work hard. This is a disguised recognition. If he performs well in the future, the name of the screenwriter of Red Mansions will definitely be Chen Shiping. Isn't the dilemma of insufficient qualifications solved? When the leadership of the factory changes, it will be much easier to move up." On the way back to the factory, Chen Shiping went back with the factory's truck. The actresses have a separate car. Chen Shiping wanted to get a ride, but before he could lift his legs, he was grabbed by Mr. Z and thrown onto the prop car. Chen Shiping squeezed in the middle of a pile of equipment with a bitter face and dared not move. If he took out any of these equipment, his annual salary would not be enough to compensate. Why are these old men on guard against him? As an older young man, can't he pursue his own happy life? But Chen Shiping can understand that the Red Mansion crew is very strict. If Chen Shiping dares to hook up with the actresses and affect the filming, Ztili will bury him. Preparations for filming started last year, but it may not be finished until this year. How could Ztili allow so much hard work to be ruined? Some time ago, the crew ran out of funds. When there was no filming, Tao Human wanted to go home, but was not allowed. The actors of the Red Mansion crew were not allowed to leave the crew before the filming was completed. This was an iron rule. Perhaps it was this spirit that made a classic. In Chen Shiping's opinion, the artistic level of the film version of the Red Mansion was much higher than that of the TV version. Wang Fuan himself admitted that Ztili shot much better than him. Soon the car arrived at the factory. Chen Shiping was the first to jump out of the car and wanted to run back to the dormitory to rest. However, he slowed down when passing by the actress car. The girls looked so beautiful when they jumped out of the car. When Chen Shiping saw Tao Human easily jumping out of the nearly 1 meter high truck compartment, he couldn't help but sigh. She has a great figure and her movements are very neat. She is worthy of studying the opera. When Tao Human was about to turn her head to look at him, Chen Shiping quickened his pace and walked away. Tao Human held the magazine sent by Chen Shiping in her hand and looked at his leaving back, feeling very strange in her heart. He had come to chat with her before and said some frivolous words, but why is he hiding from her now? Is the sister not likable, or is the brother in love with another girl? Tao Human's face flushed when this sentence suddenly popped up in her mind. Looking at Chen Shiping's back, she snorted softly and went back to the guest house with the magazine. At night, Chen Shiping sat at the desk and flipped through Dream of the Red Chamber, but he was thinking about what to write in his next book. Should he write street literature to make some quick money, or continue to write long novels to earn 18 yuan per 1,000 words? On the other side of the Beijing film guest house, in a room with 4 beds, the girls who were tired all day were lying on the bed and whispering. Tao Human lived with He Seifei, He King and Fu Yewei. The 4 girls had a lot to talk about every night. They had a close relationship and there was no intrigue. However, Tao Human did not participate in the night talk in the boudoir when she came back today. Instead, she was absorbed in reading the magazine that Chen Shiping gave her. He Seifei and Tao Human had a good relationship, so she came over and asked curiously, "What are you reading so seriously?" "A novel." Tao Human replied, while flipping through the book, and blushed a little when she saw the plot about Zhu Sangguan and his first love cheating in the book. He Seifei looked at Tao Human with a slightly red cheek, glanced at the magazine in her hand curiously, and said curiously, "A novel written by Chen Shiping? Is he good? Lend it to me and have a look." Hearing Chen Shiping's name, several girls became interested and gathered around on the big bunk to read the novel written by Chen Shiping. Tao Human was suddenly surrounded. Seeing that they were all curious about the book, written by Chen Shiping, and wanted to take it over to read together, she felt a little jealous in her heart. This was given to me by someone else. Now the sisters are coming around to borrow it. If the younger sister does not lend it, it will seem stingy. Unconsciously, Tao Humin also has the temperament of Linduidu. I updated early today, Monday. The next chapter will be updated this afternoon. I recommended it in the last round yesterday, and the data is very poor. I don't think the performance of this book will be too good. I hope my godfathers will support it. Otherwise, it will be too embarrassing to be eliminated in the first round, and I will lose motivation. Chapter 16. Dancing or watching a movie. Time is like water in a sponge. If you don't squeeze it, it will slowly evaporate. Chen Shiping has been in the Red Mansion crew for more than half a month without realizing it. Every day, he either asks Mr. Z for advice on how to revise Zusangu and Selling Blood, or discusses the Red Mansion script. Before he knew it, Chen Shiping was almost becoming the core figure of the drama team. Chen Shiping probably had some confidence in asking ZT and Mr. Z to add his name to the screenwriter. He probably couldn't add his name, since he didn't participate in the first 2 parts of the Red Mansion, but he could definitely add his name to the latter. While Chen Shiping was thinking about how to make this request, several actresses who were resting under the pavilion of the Grandview Garden were secretly looking at him. In recent days, they all had a contemporary magazine in their hands and read the first half of Zusangu and Selling Blood by Chen Shiping. Their impression of Chen Shiping has changed greatly. He can write novels and revise scripts with Mr. Z. He is very talented, and he looks good too. These actresses are no longer little girls. They can all see that Chen Shiping has a promising future. He is definitely a potential stock. No, now it is no longer a potential stock, but a high quality stock. The only actress who doesn't like Chen Shiping is Isafui. She plays Mayao, and Mayao scenes were deleted a lot because of Chen Shiping's suggestions. How could she not have any objections? Chen Shiping glanced at the group of beautiful women and happened to run into Tao Human coming from the bathroom. Thinking that the factory would show a movie from Japan tonight, he thought of taking the initiative to invite her to watch a movie together. Are you free tonight? Chen Shiping asked Tao Human, who was still wearing makeup. Tao Human looked up at him and asked after a moment of hesitation, what are you going to do? I can't dance. Chen Shiping. Hasn't the impression of me in her mind changed? I've been very careful recently. Seeing a trace of embarrassment on Chen Shiping's face, Tao Human pinched her fingers hidden in her sleeves lightly and mustered up the courage to say, I'm free. The factory is showing a movie and I want to invite you. Chen Shiping paused halfway through her words. Did she just say she was free? Exclamation mark. Did you hear it right? Then what movie are you going to watch? Let's go dancing. Chen Shiping looked at Tao Human with a little surprise and said happily, then I will come after get off work. Shipping. A shout suddenly interrupted Chen Shiping's words. He turned his head and saw Xiao Bing running over. Xiao Bing ran to Chen Shiping and said breathlessly, finally I found you. Editor Kin of Contemporary called the factory to ask you to come to the magazine office. Suddenly someone came. Tao Human felt embarrassed and blushed and whispered, someone is looking for you. I'll leave first. Looking at Tao Human who left shyly, Chen Shiping looked at Xiao Bing who came out of nowhere and asked unhappily, why are you here? What did you say? Because of this, take a look. Xiao Bing's breath was a little better, and he handed the newspaper brought from the factory to Chen Shiping. Chen Shiping took the newspaper in confusion, and was immediately attracted by the news headline on it. The shocking truth behind Zusanguan's blood-selling story. After Chen Shiping read it quickly, he finally understood what happened. After reading Zusanguan's blood-selling story, the reporter of Beijing Daily suddenly realized whether blood-selling was common, so he went to investigate. After some investigation, he was completely shocked by the truth. Blood selling is common, and it has even become a means of livelihood for the lower class. In some areas, there is even a phenomenon of whole villages selling blood together. Donating blood in the hospital is still better, but selling blood in those irregular blood stations is scary. Because of the rapid increase in the number of patients infected with diseases such as AIDS due to blood donation. Such bloody facts were exposed by a novel, which triggered too many thoughts and questions. Even the newspaper commented that Chen Shiping's writing was too conservative, and there was a blood-selling boom in China in the early 1980s. After reading the newspaper, Chen Shiping didn't bother to talk to the girls. He went straight to Mr. Z to ask for leave, and went straight to the Contemporary magazine. Chen Shiping didn't know what would happen after he went there, but he thought it shouldn't be a bad thing. He was just a novelist, and national affairs were too far away from him. More than half an hour later, Chen Shiping arrived at the Contemporary magazine and was taken directly to Qin Zhaoyang's office. As soon as he saw Chen Shiping, Qin Zhaoyang took off his glasses and said, "Shiping, come and sit down. I hope I didn't delay your work by calling you here temporarily." "No, there's nothing going on with the crew." Chen Shiping sat down and said politely. Qin Zhaoyang looked at Chen Shiping holding a newspaper in his hand and said with a smile, "You saw the newspaper. It's not a bad thing to ask you to come here today." After pouring a cup of tea for Chen Shiping, Qin Zhaoyang said with a smile, "The Beijing Daily contacted us to interview you, and the People's Publishing House wants to publish your novel. These are all good things. Chen Shiping has no surprises. Zhusangu and selling blood is so popular now, and taking the opportunity to publish a book is the kingly way." Chen Shiping immediately agreed to it, and naturally agreed to the interview. He needs to be famous now, and he must not let go of the interview. At noon that day, Chen Shiping met with the reporter. Chen Shiping agreed, and the newspaper received the news and rushed over immediately. Ridiculous efficiency. It is also necessary to eat when being interviewed. Chen Shiping also invited Qin Zhaoyang and the reporter to go out for dinner so that they could interview while eating. At the dinner table, Chen Shiping also specially ordered a plate of fried pork liver and a bottle of rice wine. Spending money is secondary. The main thing is to give reporters interesting things to write, otherwise no one will like to read dry interviews. Several people chatted while eating as if it were an interview. Chen Shiping talked about his original intention of creation, said that he had sold blood, and told the story of the prototype of Zhusangun. He also said that he adopted a puppy that day and wrote a script for the puppy, but unfortunately it did not pass the factory's review. They talked about a lot of things, and the reporter felt that he gained a lot. There were serious literary exchanges and interesting little stories. It was definitely a high-quality interview. After finishing the meal, the reporter left. When he left the restaurant, he couldn't help but say to his colleagues, "I can't tell that this is the first time that Teacher Chen has accepted an interview. It's so worry-free to interview Teacher Chen." "I think so too. It feels like he is deliberately providing something interesting." Qin Zhaoyang has been watching the interview process in the restaurant, and his impression of Chen Shiping has changed greatly. The rhythm of the interview just now was controlled by Chen Shiping throughout the whole process. This is not something that ordinary people can do. Moreover, he was not led astray by the reporter to talk about some sensitive topics. He was very accurate in grasping the scale. For example, when the reporter asked about the imperfect blood donation regulations, he didn't say a word. "This rice wine is very healthy. You can try it again." Chen Shiping smiled and poured him a glass of wine and said, "I don't know much about publishing. Can you please tell me about it?" Qin Zhaoyang turned the wine glass in his hand, suddenly smiled and picked it up to drink it, and then said, "If you trust me about publishing, how about I help you negotiate? It depends on whether you dare to trust me." Chen Shiping raised his eyebrows slightly. "Is this a test? But what is there to be afraid of agreeing to? Nowadays, manuscript fees and royalties are clearly stipulated in documents, so I won't be cheated. Besides, I will read the contract when I sign it." After thinking about it quickly, Chen Shiping immediately said, "Teacher Qin, you are too polite. You are my mentor, so I naturally believe in you. I'm just afraid of troubling you too much." Qin Zhaoyang listened to himself changing from editor-in-chief to teacher, and his evaluation of Chen Shiping increased by 1 point. Knowing when to take the initiative to build a closer relationship and being able to grasp the right degree is something that many people can't do. Chen Shiping will definitely be a big shot in the future, and he will definitely not be just a writer. Chapter 17. First independent production. When the lights came on, Chen Shiping said goodbye to Qin Zhaoyang and went back to the film studio. Chen Shiping was a little dizzy after drinking some wine, but he was very happy. Zusangu and Selling Blood was going to be published, and he finally didn't have to take a fixed salary. The only bad thing was that before 1990, novelists did not have royalties. There was only basic remuneration, which was calculated at a maximum of 30 per thousand words, or the number of prints. Chen Shiping could only get a few thousand yuan if he calculated it according to the basic remuneration. If he calculated it according to the number of prints, he would get more. As long as the sales were good, he could still make tens of thousands of yuan. But this was enough for Chen Shiping to improve his life. If he wanted to make more money, street literature was a good way. He could make a lot of money by choosing a pen name of a foreign writer and writing a few erotic novels. When he thought of erotic novels, Chen Shiping thought of women, and when he thought of women, he thought of Tao Humin. Suddenly, he remembered that he had made an appointment with Tao Humin to go to the movies together, and Chen Shiping suddenly sobered up a lot. He was upset that he missed this opportunity, not knowing whether she would agree to date him next time. The first step was aborted before it even started. When would he, an older man, stop sleeping with a dog? Chen Shiping washed his face, sobered himself up, and drove the woman out of his mind. He took out the script of Zusangu and Selling Blood, which he had revised long ago, from his desk. During this period, he had been deliberately revising the script slowly, just to go to the Red Mansion crew every day, to build relationships with Mr. Z and Zitili. Now that Zusangu and Selling Blood is about to be published, there is no need to drag it on. The next morning, Chen Shiping arrived at the Red Mansion crew on time, and handed the revised script to Mr. Z directly. After reading the script together, Mr. Z and Zitili both felt that this version was well revised. The historical background and time in the script were blurred, so those sensitive issues were naturally not so sensitive. The environment in 1988 was relatively better, and the film censorship was more relaxed than in the 1990s. Now that the script has been revised, will you continue to stay in the group? Mr. Z looked at Chen Shiping and asked. Chen Shiping smiled and said, "Of course I want to stay. I also want to add my name to the film's title. It can be added now." Zitili suddenly looked up at Chen Shiping and said, "Go and take care of Zusangun. The directors in the factory have been running to me every day recently. They are all very anxious. Who is the factory going to arrange to be the director?" Chen Shiping asked nonsense. Zitili looked at him and said with a smile, "Do you have any ideas?" Chen Shiping did not shy away and said directly, yes, but the factory will not listen to my opinions. The screenwriter has no say in the matter. It would be better if it were an independent production. Haha, it's not that easy to be an independent producer. Zitili patted Chen Shiping on the shoulder and said, "You hand in the script to the factory first, and then raise your request when we have a meeting to discuss it later." "Okay, but I'll stay in the group for this period of time. The script for the 6th part has not been finalized yet. I will leave the group after the script is finished." Chen Shiping still wanted to finish the whole thing. After Zitili went to shoot, Mr. Z took the initiative to tell Chen Shiping about the current situation in the factory. There is no precedent for independent production in China. There are indeed directors in the factory who want to be independent producers, but they are only for fame. In the end, they still have to rely on the factory to provide people and money. After listening to this, Chen Shiping pondered for a while and asked, "Mr. Z, if I can attract investment and don't use the factory's money, can this independent production work?" Mr. Z looked at Chen Shiping and shook his head and said, "It's difficult. This movie needs at least 800,000 investment. Where can you get so much money?" And Huang Pu has already submitted a report to compete for the title of the first independent producer. Compete for it. I like the title of the first independent producer. Chen Shiping looked at Mr. Z and said seriously, "This is my first novel. I don't feel at ease to hand it over to others. I hope Mr. Z can help me." Seeing how serious Chen Shiping was, Mr. Z finally nodded in agreement. But there is a prerequisite. Chen Shiping can attract investment. Otherwise the factory will not support two nominal independent producers at the same time. Getting the support of Mr. Z is equivalent to getting the support of Zitili. Chen Shiping has a bottom line in his heart. This is 1/3 of the money, and the remaining 2/3 will depend on Chen Shiping himself. 800,000, even 30 years later, is not a small amount. But it is not completely hopeless to find so much money. Isn't there a rich woman in the crew? At most, you can find a few more rich women to beg for alms. If it doesn't work, you can only write something illegal in exchange for money. Who makes street literature so popular? Chen Shiping is not in a hurry to find investment immediately. A movie is not so easy to shoot. People who don't know the business may think that there is a script, and you can find a few people to shoot it. How difficult can it be? But there are many problems in it. Where does the money come from? Where do the people come from? Where to shoot and how long? What equipment and props are needed? These are just some of the preparatory work in the early stage. When a movie really starts shooting, various problems will arise in it, which can never be summarized in a simple sentence in a novel. Getting money is the first step, and this step can stump 99% of people. Chen Shiping felt that he had to write a few erotic novels as soon as possible to make money. With the ability of pirated booksellers, they could sell them all over the country in a month at most, which was much more efficient than regular publishers. Are you leaving? Talhuman's voice suddenly appeared in Chen Shiping's ear, startling Chen Shiping, who was thinking about erotic plots. No, I won't leave until I finish the script of the 6th part. Chen Shiping stood up and looked at Talhuman and said, "Oh." Talhuman said oh and bit her lip and stopped talking. She didn't know if she had said more than 100 words to Chen Shiping, and she didn't know what to say. Let's take a walk together. Okay. The two people strolled in the Grandview garden, one wearing a leather jacket and the other wearing a beautiful dress. The mixed matching of the two people looked strangely harmonious. Several actresses who were resting not far away couldn't help gossiping when they saw this scene. My lady has fallen in love with someone else. Are you angry, Brother Bao? Chen Hong, who played Lin Dayu's personal maid, said to Zia King teasingly. Zia King laughed and hugged Chen Hong and said, "Call me Sister Zia outside the play. I'm not some Brother Bao. Men are the most boring. I think men are interesting." Chen Hong said meaningfully as she looked at Chen Shiping walking through the peach blossom forest. Zia King looked at Chen Hong unexpectedly, feeling that poor Sister Lin was about to be stabbed in the back by the maid. Sure enough, the deep love between master and servant only exists in movies. At night, Chen Shiping came back from work and flipped through the book Hungry Desire and felt that it was quite boring. The story was not strong enough, the details were not good, and the most important thing was that the scale was not as big as Chen Shiping thought. This kind of novel can be called a erotic novel, which is conservative enough. Even worse than Jiaping was Wasted City. Chen Shiping thought that the plot of a small movie was more exciting than the plot in the novel. This kind of novel was too simple for him. Chen Shiping seemed to see a steady stream of money flying towards him. Using the money from writing erotic novels to shoot classic literary works always feels like robbing the rich to help the poor. Oh, it feels like recycling waste. Chen Shiping opened the manuscript paper and started writing. The title of the book is Secrets of Young Women, and the pen name is Kato. Isn't it popular to pretend to be a Japanese novelist? It teaches the ignorant teenagers of the 1980s a good lesson that sex and love are not simple repetitive movements. The previous chapters 6 to 13 have been greatly revised. You can read them again. I hope all godfathers will support it. Chapter 18. Generosity and stinginess of pirated booksellers. Woof woof woof. The clean and white Hachiko squatted on the ground and barked. It seemed that, because spring had finally arrived, this little guy was always restless. If you bark again, I'll take you to be sterilized. Chen Shiping, who had just fallen asleep in the middle of the night last night, opened his eyes drowsily, threw the pillow on Hachiko's head, covered himself with the quilt, and continued to sleep. Today was the weekend and he didn't have to go to work. He had been staying up late to write novels recently, and was really sleepy. Hachiko lay on the ground biting the pillow and stopped barking. Chen Shiping slept until more than 10 o'clock before getting up. He had a good sleep, and was full of energy again. He took Hachiko out for a walk and a meal, and then Chen Shiping took the novel he had written to find a pirated bookseller. Chen Shiping didn't know any pirated booksellers, but he knew the middlemen. He went to the street stalls to buy books every day these days, and had become familiar with the boss. When he came to the street stall, where he had been buying books before, Chen Shiping stuffed 2 boxes of cigarettes into the boss's pocket and got the address of his previous store. Chen Shiping couldn't help but smile when he saw the address above. It's not far from the Beijing Film Studio, all on the North 3rd Ring Road. Come to think of it, there's no difference between the North 3rd Ring Road and the countryside, and it's safe to do pirated copies here. After Chen Shiping rode his bicycle to find the street vendor's previous owner according to the address, he found that this was also a middleman. Because someone introduced him, the middleman didn't think much about it, thinking that Chen Shiping also wanted to come to buy goods and set up a stall, so he took Chen Shiping to visit his warehouse. There were books piled up in several rooms, estimated to be tens of thousands of books. I have more than 20 novels here, and I have enough stock for each. The dealer smoked a cigarette and pointed at his warehouse full of goods and said, "You are Goyang's friend, I will give you the cost price." Chen Shiping smiled and didn't respond. He took out the novel he had sorted out and handed it to him, saying, "Do you have this one?" The dealer was stunned for a moment, subconsciously took the manuscript paper handed over by Chen Shiping, looked at the title on it, frowned and said, "The Secret of Young Women? Why is this still a handwritten copy?" The dealer flipped it open and took a look and was immediately attracted by a few words on the first page. Sex addiction? Abuse? What does this mean? But these words make people imagine. The dealer immediately became interested and continued to read, but before he got to the point, after reading only 3 pages, the book in his hand was taken away by Chen Shiping. "Hey, I haven't read it yet, let me take a look," the dealer said with an unsatisfied look. Chen Shiping smiled and said, "The back part will be charged. How do you feel about it?" "It's good. It's very novel, but I don't know what's next." The middleman muttered, "Why haven't I seen this book before? Where did you get it?" Chen Shiping smiled and said, "My friend just wrote it. He wants to print it into a book to make some money." Friend? Who is he trying to fool? The middleman didn't believe Chen Shiping's nonsense. How can a friend's writing be here? Exclamation mark. But he also understood what Chen Shiping meant. He wanted to print it through his own channels and sell it. "I'm just a middleman. You found the wrong person if you want to find someone to print a book." The middleman was still a little wary of Chen Shiping. The kid didn't tell the truth. He wrote it himself, but he still said it was a friend. "But you know those booksellers, don't you?" Chen Shiping looked at him and said, "Brother, help me introduce them. I will reward you handsomely." The dealer looked at Chen Shiping and thought for a while, then threw his cigarette butt on the ground and said, "You have a formal position, right? You can ask me to introduce you, but you should finish reading the book first." Chen Shiping took out the manuscript and handed it to him. He couldn't remember the novel of more than 100,000 words after reading it, so it didn't matter if he showed it to him. After getting the book, the dealer immediately started to read it excitedly. He just saw that the heroine went out on a date wearing only a coat, and he was in high spirits. More than half an hour later, the dealer, who had finished reading half of it, scratched his pants awkwardly. He felt very angry. He had to go to Hachiko village in the western suburbs tonight. Chen Shiping had been waiting by the side and was also reading novels written by other writers to learn from the experience of his predecessors. "Brother, is this really written by your friend?" "It's too real." The dealer put down the book in his hand and asked. Chen Shiping turned around and looked at him and said, "Is this important? Do you think it will be a hit after it's printed?" "It must be." The middleman couldn't help but light another cigarette and said, "I can introduce you, but you have to negotiate the price yourself." Chen Shiping nodded and said, "Thank you, brother. If it works, I will definitely reward you handsomely." "No need for a handsome reward. If it works, I will definitely buy a batch. By then, I will learn as much as you do." After the middleman finished speaking, he took Chen Shiping to find the bookseller behind him. With an acquaintance leading the way, everything went much more smoothly. After Chen Shiping met the bookseller behind him, he showed him the manuscript and decided. Moreover, the remuneration given by these pirated booksellers is very interesting. It is the same as the remuneration for genuine novels. One is a one-time payment, and the other is paid according to the number of copies printed. Chen Shiping certainly chose the latter, but he was not sure that the pirated bookseller would tell him the truth. He would definitely not tell him the truth about how many copies were printed and how many copies were sold. It was just a one-time payment of only 2,000, which was dispensable to Chen Shiping. It was better to take the risk and choose the second option. Take a chance and the bicycle could become a motorcycle. You are quite courageous. Aren't you afraid that I will take your book and not pay you? The pirated bookseller asked with a smile. Chen Shiping said with a smile, Bosley is doing big business. His vision and pattern must be different. Only long-term cooperation can achieve mutual benefit and win-win results. Bosley laughed and said, as expected of a cultured person, he is good at talking. That's it. Long-term cooperation in the future. Okay, happy cooperation. When Chen Shiping left there, he had 240 yuan in his pocket. This was the money for the first batch of printing. Even if Bosley didn't pay Chen Shiping later, it was not too bad. Bosley's price was $1.50 per book, and Chen Shiping could get 1 cent per book. This price was already very good. It was a big step towards the goal of 800,000 yuan. As long as this book could sell for 8 million. Oh, this is impossible. It seems that he has to write at least a dozen more books, which may not be possible, but Chen Shiping has never thought of making money by writing erotic novels. To attract investment, the most important thing is to get others to invest. Chen Shiping can't save so much money, even if he saves for another 3 years. Chen Shiping plans to make 40,000 or 50,000 yuan first. Only after he has a certain amount of money can he prove to the factory that he can attract investment and support himself as an independent producer. The script is well written, the novel has caused a sensation in society, and he has a position in the Red Mansion crew. These are the basic conditions for Chen Shiping to be qualified to come to the table. The most important thing is to attract investment, which is the key to success. Chen Shiping calculated that the first batch of printing of Zusangu and Selling Blood was 100,000 copies. The People's Publishing House was very bold and didn't worry about not having sales. The pirated booksellers can't compare to this. They are very stingy and only plan to print 2,000 copies in the first batch. For 100,000 copies, Chen Shiping can get 10,000 yuan, which is 10 cents per book. The price of Zusangu and Selling Blood was 2 yuan, and Chen Shiping could only get 1 cent per book, which was far less generous than the pirated booksellers. With the two books combined, Chen Shiping could make about 40,000 yuan in a month. He could go back and trick Liu Xiaoqing, a rich woman, into investing 100,000 or 80,000 yuan, which would be enough to convince the factory committee. It was only 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and Chen Shiping rode his bicycle to the Beijing film guest house. He didn't know if Tao Human was willing to come out to watch a movie tonight. If you make money, you have to eat well, and cabbage is good. Chapter 19. Linda Yu is backstabbed by her personal maid. At around 5 o'clock, at the entrance of the Beijing Film Academy guest house, Chen Shiping rode his 28-bar bicycle to a cool tailspin and stopped the bicycle steadily. He had the aura of a ghost fireboy, but he didn't have a head of yellow hair. As soon as Chen Shiping propped up the bicycle, he saw a black car passing in front of him. A young and high-spirited face appeared in the half-open window and finally stopped at the entrance of the Beijing Film Academy not far away. Chen Shiping looked at the car with envy and then looked down at his 28-bar bicycle. What a difference. Others were driving cars to pick up girls at a young age while he was still struggling to make ends meet. Just as Chen Shiping was in a daze, the door of the guest house was suddenly pushed open and several girls from the Red Mansion crew came out together. Isn't this the great writer Chen? Why are you here? Miss Xiaoqing, who played Bao Yu, took the initiative to greet him. Tao Human was also in the crowd. Seeing Chen Shiping appear here, she vaguely guessed that he was looking for her. Chen Shiping's eyes stayed on Tao Human's face for a moment, and he asked with a smile, "Are you going out to eat?" "Yes. Do you want to join us?" Xiaoqing asked with a smile. She and Chen Shiping were quite familiar with each other. When they were in the crew, Chen Shiping had corrected her Macute problems. Xiaoqing took the initiative to invite Chen Shiping, and it was difficult for her to refuse, so she agreed directly. The main reason was that Tao Human was shy. If he asked her out in front of so many people, she would definitely be embarrassed to agree. The crew did not give much meal allowance to the actors, only 2 yuan a day, and the girls could not eat any big fish and meat, so they found a wonton stall for dinner. Chen Shiping sat at the stall drinking wonton soup, but his eyes always stayed on Tao Human, making her blush and embarrassed to look up. "Didn't you go out to play during your break today?" Chen Shiping looked at Tao Human and asked. Tao Human shook her head and ate the wontons in small bites. After a while, she said to Chen Shiping, "What about you?" "I went to discuss the publication of the novel. I just came here after finishing my work. I didn't expect to catch up with you guys' appointment to have dinner together," Chen Shiping said with a hint of meaning. Tao Human understood the meaning of Chen Shiping's words, and the corners of her mouth curled up slightly and hummed again. She felt that the wontons were more fragrant today. When the girls at the same table heard that Chen Shiping said he was going to discuss publishing, they were curious to ask about it. Chen Shiping simply talked about the publication of Zusangu and Selling Blood, and did not mention the book The Secret of Young Women. When the girls heard that the first edition was printed in 100,000 copies, they couldn't help but marvel and asked how much royalties Chen Shiping could get. Chen Shiping smiled and raised a finger, but did not say what the unit behind it was. 10,000? Chen Hong looked at Chen Shiping in surprise and asked. Chen Shiping glanced at the young Chen Hong, smiled and nodded. Then in the shocked eyes of the girls, he turned his head to look at Tao Human and asked, "An American movie has been introduced recently. Do you want to go and see it together?" Tao Human was also surprised at Chen Shiping's royalties at this time. She was stunned for a moment and asked subconsciously, "What movie?" "Love Story. Do you want to go and see it together?" Chen Shiping said with a smile. Chen Hong, who had come to her senses, suddenly said, "Why don't you invite us to go together? We will also treat you to wontons." As soon as Chen Hong said this, the dinner table was silent for a while. Zia King hurriedly pulled her under the table, then looked at Chen Shiping and said, "We won't go. You and Human go." "No, I'm almost moldy in the guest house. Let's go and see it together. I haven't seen an American movie for a long time." Chen Hong seemed to not understand what Zia King meant, and spoke again at an inappropriate time. Chen Shiping didn't know whether Chen Hong did it on purpose, or because she was too young to know how to act, but he could only smile and say, "Okay, let's go together." After that, Chen Shiping turned his head and looked at Tao Human and said, "Do you want to go?" Tao Human wanted to agree when she heard that the name of the movie was A Love Story, but she felt a little unhappy after Chen Hong made such a fuss. Didn't Chen Hong want to go? "You can go with her. I'll be there, and you'll have to pay for one more ticket." Chen Shiping. How did Lin Daiyu become Lin Du? The movie was still not watched. Chen Hong, who insisted on joining in the fun, was finally pulled back by Zia King. After eating wontons, Lin Du also twisted his body and left, leaving Chen Shiping alone sitting at the wonton stall, lonely like a dog. A good weekend was wasted like this, and Chen Shiping could only helplessly wait for the next time to make an appointment with Tao Human. However, Chen Shiping didn't have time to make an appointment with Tao Human in the next few weeks. Zusangu and Selling Blood was officially published, and readers snapped it up as soon as it was released. The first batch of 100,000 copies was sold out in less than half a month. Chen Shiping was busy working on the script of The Dream of the Red Chamber with Mr. Z on the crew, and he also had to take time to attend the readers forum of Zusangu and Selling Blood. He was so busy, but the busier he was, the happier he was. This month, Zusangu and Selling Blood was reprinted twice. The first reprint increased to 150,000 copies, and the second reprint increased to 200,000 copies. Chen Shiping received a total of 45,000 yuan in royalties from these reprints, but taxes had to be deducted, so he only had a little over 40,000 yuan in total. At the same time as Zusanguan became popular, a novel also became popular on the bookstalls in the entire northern market. Chen Shiping looked at the 20,000 yuan sent by the pirated bookseller Bosley, and didn't care how much money he deducted from him. He was honest enough to give him 20,000 yuan. "Bosley asked me to ask if you have any new books." The middleman who had dealt with Chen Shiping asked with a smile. After counting all the money, Chen Shiping looked at him and said, "If there is no new novel, will there be no royalties in the future?" "Well, I don't know, but you are so smart that you should understand." The middleman evaded. Chen Shiping naturally knew the ins and outs of this, and after thinking for a while, he said, "Tell Bosley that there will be a new novel next month. That's fine. You will make a lot of money this time. Your book is almost more popular than Zusangu and Selling Blood." The middleman spat and said, "Who said that street literature is not good? Your book sells much better than Zusangu and Selling Blood." Chen Shiping couldn't help but twitch his lips, looked at him and asked, "Did you also pirate Zusangu and Selling Blood? How many copies have you sold?" "Not many. Bosley printed tens of thousands of copies. I heard that some big booksellers in the South are so cruel that they printed 200,000 copies in one go." Hearing about 200,000 copies, Chen Shiping covered his chest in pain for a long time and couldn't speak. The middleman was so scared that he thought Chen Shiping had a heart attack out of jealousy. "It's justice. I made 20,000 yuan by writing a pirated novel, and people stole hundreds of thousands of copies of my novel. There will be more in the future. Nowadays, there is no genuine novel that is not pirated. Jiaping was Wasted City was once printed by pirates for millions of copies, but he hasn't written it yet." Chen Shiping feels that he can bear the pain of his labor being stolen for him. Instead of letting the pirated bookseller steal, it's better to let him steal. Right. The business of scholars has to be called stealing. But thinking of the rampant pirated books, Chen Shiping couldn't help but curse. Damn piracy. No, I must write a few more erotic novels to make back the money. Chapter 20. Finding a rich woman to get investment. Because of the popularity of Zusangu and Selling Blood, Chen Shiping also became a celebrity in the factory, and everyone's eyes were red with envy. Chen Shiping just hid in the Red Mansion crew every day. Otherwise, if he went to work normally in the factory, he would definitely be pierced through by the laser of the people with red eye. But now the script of the 6th part of the Red Mansion has been completed, and Chen Shiping has no excuse to continue hiding in the Red Mansion crew. The most important thing is that Mr. Z told Chen Shiping a piece of news that made it impossible for him to stay in the Red Mansion crew. Someone in the factory wanted to apply to be an independent producer like Chen Shiping, and now the resolution is about to be passed. If Chen Shiping doesn't go back, he will not be able to grab the title of the first independent producer in the country. Thinking of this, Chen Shiping no longer cared about the beautiful Lende Iu and turned around to find the fierce Wang Zifeng to ask for support. Asking for investment. Sister King. Chen Shiping walked up to Liu King and said with a smile, "I have something I want to talk to you about. Do you have time?" Liu King looked at Chen Shiping in surprise and said with a smile, "Why don't you go find your sister Lin? Sister Lin doesn't take care of things. Everyone knows that Sister Feng is in charge of the Jia family." Chen Shiping made a joke and told Liu King that he was planning to make an independent film of Zusangu and Selling Blood. After hearing this, Liu King was surprised that Chen Shiping actually planned this way. She asked uncertainly, "So, you are looking for me to invest? How can you be sure that I have the money to invest?" Chen Shiping did not explain much, but just said, "Sister, are you interested?" Liu King was silent for a while and looked at Chen Shiping and said, "What if we lose money?" Chen Shiping smiled and said, "Independent productions are also considered as productions of the studio, but we pay for them. Feature films still need to be purchased and sold in a unified manner. With the popularity of the novel Zusangu and Selling Blood, plus you being a big star, it doesn't make sense for them to lose money. There is another most critical factor. We still have overseas copyrights to sell. Even if we only sell them for tens of thousands of dollars, it is enough to make back the investment." Before the cancellation of unified purchase and sales in 1993, although the studio could not make money, it would definitely not lose money. Before 1980, a feature film was bought out at a one-time price of 700,000 yuan, but after 1980, the film copyright belonged to the producer, and it was changed from a one-time buyout to a single copy of 9,000 yuan for cumulative settlement. Although the producers could not make much profit, they would never lose money. Under the planned economy policy in the 1980s, the number of people covered by movies reached hundreds of millions, and there were movies to watch in both urban and rural areas. The price of a single ticket for Furong Town in 1986 was 20 cents, and the total box office was as high as hundreds of millions. If it was replaced with 20 or 31 tickets later, the box office would exceed 20 billion. Losing money? How could it be possible to lose money? It was just that the money was earned by the distributor, and the producers could only get less than 15% of the profit. After listening to Chen Shiping's detailed explanation, Liu King was also somewhat moved, as if he would not lose money. How much money do you need? I have 60,000 yuan. If you have money, you can pay the rest. I can work for you for free. What I want is an opportunity. Liu King did not have 800,000 yuan. In the past 2 years, she has made nearly $1 million yuan from performing. It's just that she can't say it. In the end, Liu King did not give Chen Shiping a direct answer to the question of how much money to pay. She just promised Chen Shiping that she would invest and find someone to invest for Chen Shiping. Chen Shiping probably guessed what she meant by finding someone. It was difficult for her to invest hundreds of thousands of yuan, but she could invest through others. Liu King's current fame and connections are not comparable to ordinary people. When everyone was talking about the people's artist, Liu King had already made a gorgeous transformation and became a big star. She is the earliest example of the film and television industry from planning to market. After bringing in Liu King, a rich woman, Chen Shiping felt relieved and could now talk to the studio about independent production. There was no reason to support Wang Pu, who wanted money and fame, and not support himself, who only wanted fame and generated income for the studio. But before leaving, he had to say something to Lin Mimi. Chen Shiping found Tao Human, who was taking a break, and said, "I'm going back to the factory today." Oh. Tao Human shook her sleeves. After a while, she saw that Chen Shiping had not left yet, so she couldn't help but say, "Why did you come back to the factory to tell me? I will go back to the troupe after the filming is over. It's a good time to say goodbye now." Seeing Tao Human like this, Chen Shiping couldn't help but want to laugh. The combination of this little girl's attitude and Lin's temperament was really cute. "Do you want to be transferred to the factory? I don't want you to go back to the troupe." Tao Human pursed her lips and didn't say anything. Seeing that Chen Shiping didn't seem to be joking, she slowly said, "This is not something I can decide. If the factory transfers me here, I will come." Chen Shiping nodded and said, "Okay, then I know." Although she didn't hear Chen Shiping's promise, Tao Human believed from the bottom of her heart that Chen Shiping would do it. She felt sweet in her heart, but she felt a little guilty when she thought of her opera teacher. Chen Shiping and Tao Human chatted for a few more words, and then hurried back to the factory. Tomorrow the factory committee will hold a meeting to decide whether to give Huang Pu independent production, and he has to go back quickly to intercept it. That afternoon, Chen Shiping handed in his script and took the opportunity to propose that he also wanted to produce independently and found investment. Hu Kaiming looked at Chen Shiping with some disbelief and said, "According to the production plan of the factory, it will cost at least 800,000 yuan. Have you really found all the money?" Chen Shiping nodded and said, "I have found all the money. I don't need the factory to pay. I just want independent production." Hu Kaiming didn't expect Chen Shiping to have this ability. After a moment of silence, he said, "This is not a trivial matter, and you have no relevant experience." Chen Shiping said seriously, "I have learned a lot during this time in the Red Mansion crew. Mr. Z and Director Z also support me to be an independent producer. Otherwise, I would not have the confidence to mention it to the factory. You see, this is the effect of brushing up resumes and pleasing big guys. Otherwise, even if Chen Shiping can attract investment, it will be useless." When Hu Kaiming heard that both Mr. Z and ZT supported Chen Shiping, he thought for a while and said, "Then you can come to the meeting tomorrow, so we can discuss it at the meeting." "Thank you, Director." Chen Shiping breathed a sigh of relief when he came out of the director's office. He finally earned this opportunity. He would put his chips on display at the factory meeting tomorrow. He didn't believe that he couldn't beat Wang Pu. The novel Zusangu and Selling Blood is so popular now. With the investment and support from the big guys, there is no reason for him to lose. As long as he can become an independent producer in the factory this time, he will have much more room for development in the future. With the support of the production studio, he doesn't have to be constrained. It's so wonderful. The next morning, Chen Shiping came to the factory committee meeting on time, but he didn't expect to hear someone picking on him crazily before he entered the meeting room. Does he have any experience as a producer? Any experience as a director? Does he understand film creation? There's no need to discuss his proposal to be an independent producer at the meeting. I firmly oppose Chen Shiping being an independent producer. If he can be an independent producer, there's no need to discuss my application. Chen Shiping knew it was Huang Pu who was competing with him for the title of the first independent producer. He probably came to the meeting with full confidence early in the morning and was frightened when he heard that Chen Shiping was also going to apply to be an independent producer. Chen Shiping stood outside the meeting room, tidied his clothes, then calmly opened the door and walked in. Come on, let's have a head-on collision. Let's see who is qualified to be the independent producer. Chapter 21. If you're not convinced, come out and challenge me. Life is simple, but also difficult. Chen Shiping doesn't want to live simply, he wants to live wonderfully, so no one can stop him. The atmosphere in the factory committee meeting room was very solemn, with a feeling of impending storm. This was the first time Chen Shiping sat on the mahogany table of the factory committee meeting. The table was very heavy and the chairs were very straight, and he liked it very much. Opposite Chen Shiping was his opponent this time, Huang Pu Karen, a man with a very special name but ordinary appearance. He looked about 40 years old, and his hairline was quite receding. Huang Pu Karen was also looking at Chen Shiping. He saw in Chen Shiping a kind of vitality and fighting spirit that he had lost in himself. This is a very ambitious guy. Huang Pu Karen paid a little more attention to Chen Shiping. He had no experience in independent studios. There are examples of independent production in China, but they are basically in the field of TV programs. In 1984, the boss of the Three Gorges Film and Television Production Center independently produced a series of Three Gorges themed TV programs. The boss of the Film and Television Production Center is not independent at all when associated with independent production. There are no examples of truly independent production in the film industry. 2 years ago, Chen Guojin directed a film that was called an independent production, but strictly speaking, it was not. The film was supported by several film studios and the wealthy woman Liu Xiaoqing. In the end, the word independent was removed when the film was released. It was revised 25 times during the review and was stopped after 2 days of release. It was considered a failed attempt. This is also one of the reasons why Liu Xiaoqing hesitated whether to invest in Chen Shiping. She was still worried that the same situation as in previous years would occur. Independence is not that simple. It is a test and confrontation of the system. That is to say, in the past 2 years, many film studio leaders have been calling for changes in the production and distribution system, which has created such a slight opportunity. This is why the Beijing Film Studio attaches great importance to the proposal of independent production this time. The policy and system have become flexible, so we can give it a try. I just didn't expect that 2 people would want to be independent producers now, so we must discuss a result today. Before the meeting started, Ztili and Zleo also rushed over from the Red Mansion crew. When they came in, they gave Chen Shiping a reassuring look. Chen Shiping instantly became more confident. The big guys were here, so what was he worried about? Factory director Hu Kaiming made a simple opening speech for the meeting. Now there are 2 films that are going to apply for independent production. Everyone, please share your opinions. Everyone who participated in the meeting looked at Chen Shiping and Huang Pu Karen. They all had different opinions in their hearts, and most of them supported Huang Pu Karen. Because Huang Pu Karen was an old man in the factory and had directed 2 films, he had experience and connections. As for Chen Shiping, he was really blank like a piece of paper. It was just that his recent novel became popular, but writing novels and producing films were not the same concept. There was another important reason for not being optimistic about Chen Shiping. That is, except for Mr. Z and Ztili, no one who attended the meeting had any connections with him. A leader who had a good relationship with Huang Pu was the first to speak up while smoking a cigarette. I think we should let Huang Pu come. The old comrade has experience, and Shiping has no relevant experience. Let him hone his skills for a few more years. I'm still very confident about this. I have been in the factory for several years. Huangpu first showed off his qualifications, glanced at Chen Shiping, and then brought out his work experience and said, he has also made 2 movies, so he is definitely better than a newcomer. Independent producers have to worry about the entire crew. It is difficult without work experience. After he finished speaking, everyone else nodded in agreement, and no one spoke for Chen Shiping. Mr. Z and ZT had no intention of speaking up to help him. Chen Shiping knew that he had to do it himself at this time. Mr. Z and ZT would not speak for Chen Shiping at this time, otherwise they would be lackeys. Chen Shiping had to speak first. He sorted out his thoughts and said, although I have not been in the factory for a long time, I'm still a very good learner. My ability in playwriting is obvious to all. Recently, I have adapted the script of Red Mansion with Mr. Z. In the Red Mansion crew, I also learned a lot of production experience from Director Z. I'm also very familiar with the various tasks of the crew. I also want to thank Mr. Z and Director Z for their guidance. With Chen Shiping taking the lead, Mr. Z and ZT could help speak, but they just smiled and nodded in approval. The people in the meeting room noticed that Mr. Z and ZT both wanted to support Chen Shiping, but they didn't say anything at this time. Let's see the situation first. Helping Huangpu can only get a personal favor, but if you annoy Mr. Z and ZT, it will be more trouble than gain. In terms of seniority, there are not many people in the factory who are stronger than them. No one helped to speak, so Huangpu could only speak up by himself. He looked at Chen Shiping and said, but you have no directing experience and don't know how to shoot. How can you make a good movie? I'm a producer, not a director. Directing is the director's problem. Chen Shiping replied indifferently. Huangpu was choked and snorted and said, I'm talking about your production experience. Do you understand the operation of the crew? Chen Shiping said without any exaggeration, I learned it in the Red Mansion. If you don't believe me, ask Mr. Z and Director Z. They all think I have a talent for being a producer. Huangpu was choked again and subconsciously turned his head to look at Mr. Z and Director Z, but it was difficult to ask directly. Mr. Z and Director Z were silent, and after a while they nodded slightly, feeling helpless about Chen Shiping's cleverness in climbing up the ladder. Huangpu was at a loss. Did Mr. Z and Director Z support him so much? Then can you attract investment? I have already attracted an investment of 300,000 yuan, and the factory will only need another 700,000 yuan in support. How much money can you raise? In desperation, Huangpu could only talk about money. He didn't believe that Chen Shiping could raise more money than him. Chen Shiping smiled lightly, looked at Huangpu who was at a loss and said, I'm sorry, I don't need the factory's investment, and I can still generate income for the factory. I have reported this to the factory director yesterday. You don't respect your predecessors. You don't take care of young comrades who want to make progress. What's wrong with me? I don't need a penny from the factory. I'm an independent producer. You can't even get investment and have to rely on the support of the factory. You want to be good and clever. You are taking advantage of the factory and the country. You are a capitalist. Cough cough. Hu Kaiming suddenly coughed loudly twice to interrupt Chen Shiping, fearing that he would raise the topic to another level. Hu Kaiming has now made up his mind. Regardless of whether Chen Shiping has experience as a producer or not, he can attract investment to reduce the burden on the factory, and today he has made Huangpu speechless. He is a talent. Anyway, he will retire in a while, so he might as well do a favor to ZT. I think the independent production should be handed over to Shiping. If the factory comes to produce Zusangu and selling blood, it will have to pay another 800,000 yuan. Hu Kaiming paused and looked at the others and said, didn't you submit several projects before, but they couldn't be filmed because of lack of money? Now we have money to film. After Hu Kaiming finished speaking, everyone in the conference room had a different mindset. If Chen Shiping does not occupy the factory's funds, he can indeed make one more feature film, so he will have a chance. It is better to support Chen Shiping than to help Huangpu get a favor. This is a real benefit. I support the director's decision. I support it too. Both Mr. Z and Director Z are optimistic about Xiao Chen, so it must be right. Huangpu looked at this group of idiots angrily. All these years of work have been in vain. It's all because of this Chen Shiping. Where did you come from? Chen Shiping snorted and looked at Huangpu arrogantly. It's almost a market economy. You don't even have money. What can you use to compete with me? If you don't agree, come out and fight. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22, The Greasy Little Clip. Chen Shiping is lucky, but he attributes his luck to his own efforts. Of course, writing novels is an exception. After getting the opportunity to produce independently, Chen Shiping's script was submitted to the Bureau for review, but the screenwriter's name was not just Chen Shiping. The names of Mr. Z and Director Z were also added. The two big guys made a lot of efforts in the adaptation of the script, and Chen Shiping also needed their endorsement. Otherwise, the review of the Bureau would not be so easy. It is lucky to pass the review of the Bureau with the help of the two big guys, but this is a luck that Chen Shiping has worked hard for. Chen Shiping is very happy to be able to produce independently, but some people are not so happy, such as Jiang Huoyan, who is now staring at Chen Shiping with a sour face. Chen Shiping touched his nose and said, "Teacher Jiang, don't look at me like that. I'm an independent producer now, so I don't need to guide the editor. I didn't mean it. It's not intentional. You thought about it when you handed in the script at the beginning, didn't you?" Jiang Huoyan snorted and said, "When you asked me to help you find a solution, those words you said were just empty promises." Wang Ruteo was listening to him with a smile on his face. Jiang Huoyan, this cunning old thief, also suffered losses. Chen Shiping smiled harmlessly, and he didn't feel much sorry for Jiang Huoyan in his heart. It was not based on friendship in the first place. It was just that the business was not negotiated. The news that Chen Shiping became the first independent producer in the factory has spread now, and many actors and directors want to find Chen Shiping. Independent producers have great power. How to use funds, who to choose as director and actor, and how to organize the team are all decided by the producer. Chen Shiping is now equivalent to the factory committee in the factory. The only thing he needs to be responsible for is to be responsible to investors and ensure that the film will not lose money. There are only two investors. One is Chen Shiping himself, and the other is Liu Xiaoqing. Chen Shiping just needs to be responsible to Liu Xiaoqing so that the money she invested will not be lost, like in the past few years. If you want to avoid losing money, the solution is very simple, as long as it can pass the review and the movie is released smoothly. Now that the script has passed the review, as long as the director honestly follows the script, there will be no problem. As for who to choose as the director, Chen Shiping has not yet decided. He really wants Ztili to come. Ztili participated in the script adaptation throughout the process and knows what can be filmed and what cannot be filmed. Moreover, Ztili's directing level is also one of the best. However, Ztili will not come to film Red Mansion before it is finished. The director does not have a favorite candidate for a while, so Chen Shiping focuses on other issues, such as actors and team building. After all the work is done and the director is found, you can start filming directly. If Ztili comes to be the director, Chen Shiping will not interfere too much with the filming issues, but if Ztili does not come, Chen Shiping just wants to find a tool person, just like Hollywood. Why do domestic directors have so much power? It is because the factory gives them so much power. After the factory provides funds as a producer, the rest of the problems are decided by the director. Chen Shiping will not do such a thing. His money is not given by the state. Chen Shiping wants a dictator. If he doesn't obey, just change him. He doesn't believe that he can't find a tool person. Making a movie is a very troublesome thing. Chen Shiping has not yet completely sorted out the clues, so he is not in a hurry to find a tool person immediately. Let's wait and see which directors will take the initiative to deliver it to the door. Chen Shiping is now going to visit his investor in the Red Mansion crew. He must ask when her investment will be received, otherwise he has no money to organize a team now. The Red Mansion is still filming in the Grandview Garden. When Chen Shiping arrived, it was filming quietly inside. Chen Shiping looked at Liu Xiaoqing, who was aggressive in front of the camera, and felt that her condition was getting better and better. In the first two parts, when she played Wang Zifeng, she always lacked flavor. She relied purely on the Sichuan girl's spiciness and voice, and her performance was very dry. Wang Zifan was busy making a scene with her husband, so Chen Shiping had to turn around and look for Lin Daiyu. However, after a circle, he did not see Lin Daiyu, but only her personal maid Zijuan. Zijuan was sitting with Baoyu and reviewing the script. When she saw Chen Shiping coming, she immediately stood up. "Brother Shiping, you are here." Chen Shiping subconsciously shuddered when he heard the name Brother Shiping. The greasy little clip. "We are very familiar with each other." Xia King looked at Chen Hong, who was so proactive and didn't know what to say. Why did she want to stab him in the back? Chen Shiping stopped one step away from Chen Hong and looked at her and asked, "Where is Tao Human? Why didn't I see her today?" "She didn't come today because she didn't have a play." Chen Hong took the initiative to step forward, approached Chen Shiping and said, "You haven't come to the crew for many days. When you come, you only look for her and don't even look at us." Chen Shiping coughed. He didn't expect that Chen Hong, who was so young, would be so arrogant. Seeing that Chen Shiping was not very enthusiastic, Chen Hong's round eyes turned, and she picked up the script in her hand and said, "It just so happens that Sister Xia King and I are discussing the script. I want to ask you, the great screenwriter, about this scene." Seeing that Chen Hong took the initiative to mention the script, Chen Shiping couldn't refuse and asked, "Is it the scene where Zijuan lied to test Baoyu's sincerity to Lin Daiyu?" "Yes, this scene was written by you." Chen Hong handed the script over and said, "Look at how to say this line appropriately." Chen Shiping smiled and didn't take the script. He said directly, "Loyalty. Zijuan is distressed for the young master at this time. Just don't have other thoughts." Chen Hong looked at Chen Shiping with her eyes rolling and said softly, "What if I have other thoughts?" "It's wrong to have." Xia King saw that the atmosphere became ambiguous and hurriedly stood up and said, "Baoyu swears to protect Lin Daiyu's love, unless this peach blossom is coming for her." Xia King's interruption made the atmosphere a little awkward, and there was a taste of trying to cover up something. Chen Shiping had to find an excuse to leave in a hurry. There were too many people on the crew to avoid any bad news. Reputation is still important these days. You can't be regarded as a wild dog in heat like your original self. It's not easy to live like a human being. You can't beat yourself up again. Lin Daiyu is not here today. Wang Zifan is still busy making a scene, and Zijuan wants to stab the young lady in the back. Chen Shiping really didn't know who to find for a while, so he had to stroll around the Grand View Garden. Enjoy the flowers, the scenery, and the beauties. Chen Shiping looked at Isafei, who was dressed in a white dress, and felt that she was pleasing to the eye, and had a taste of being out of the world. He just looked at her for a few times, and then withdrew his gaze with a sense of satisfaction. Pay attention to the impact. Pay attention to the evil thoughts that Chen Hong has aroused in your heart. It's not time to be wild yet, so as not to be caught and shot. Chen Shiping didn't stay in the crew for too long. After Liu Xia King finished filming, he went to talk to her about investment, but Liu Xia King didn't want to talk about this matter in the crew, as it would have a bad impact. How could an actor get so much money? At this time, the higher-ups clearly stipulated that private performances and private sharing were not allowed. Liu Xia King was caught by the factory for this a few years ago. Liu Xia King has her own performance team, which is the best performance team in China. The Black Panther band accompanies her. They look down on Mayamin and the princess who want to join this performance team. She is so arrogant. Tonight, Liu Xia King also took a job to perform and made an appointment with Chen Shiping to that place. The performance place is a dance hall. Chen Shiping has been here for so long, but he has never been to a dance hall. He is very curious and wants to dance a disco. After the crew finished work in the evening, Xia King returned to the guest house and told Tao Human about Chen Shiping's visit to the crew in the afternoon, but did not mention Chen Hong's backstabbing. Xia King didn't want to make things so complicated because Chen Hong was young. When Tao Human knew that Chen Shiping came to see her, she was happy for a moment, then frowned and said, "Why didn't he come to see me when he knew I was in the guest house? Did he find it troublesome?" Xia King. Lin Daiyu is possessed, right? Xia King really wanted to tell Tao Human not to drag it out here. Either refuse directly or act quickly. Otherwise by the time you react, you don't know who has seduced Chen Shiping away. My godfather, please give me a vote. When you see this, give me some support and give me some confidence. Chapter 23. Who do you think you are? Riding a bicycle through this old city, Chen Shiping always feels a sense of contradiction that is difficult to express in words. It is heavy, oppressive, traditional, and at the same time fashionable, impetuous, and rebellious. In this era, when food stamps are still used, there is fashionable music and flashing red lights in the dance hall. This is an era of intense change, and many things are colliding and merging invisibly, clearly divided and testing each other. Chen Shiping sat in the booth, and his legs could not help shaking with the rhythm of the music. On the stage in the middle of the dance hall, Liu King was singing a song that was very popular last year, The Little Girl Under the Street Light. Dear little sister, please don't cry. At this time, the atmosphere in the dance hall was very lively. There were people who sang along and suddenly danced along. They all took off the meticulous, dull, and old-fashioned disguise during the day, and released the suppressed enthusiasm deep in their hearts. Chen Shiping did not go to dance. There was really a lot of chaos in the dance hall. Liu King came off the stage with fatigue after excitement, after performing several programs in a row. After sitting next to Chen Shiping, he picked up a glass of beer and took a big gulp. Liu King put down his wine glass in a heroic manner, wiped the sweat from his forehead, looked at Chen Shiping and asked, "Don't you like it here?" Maybe Chen Shiping was too calm, which made Liu King mistakenly think that he, a scholar, was a little restrained. Chen Shiping shook his head and said, "No, I'm thinking about something." Liu King laughed and said, "Are you afraid that I will regret it?" "I won't regret what I promised." Then when Chen Shiping was about to talk to Liu King about investment, an abrupt voice suddenly interrupted him from the side. "What are you talking about so happily?" Chen Guojin sat next to Liu King and hugged her very naturally and deliberately, and his eyes glanced at Chen Shiping from time to time. Chen Shiping pouted slightly and moved to the side to avoid being misunderstood. After Chen Guojin sat down, Liu King explained to him, then turned to look at Chen Shiping and said, "Let's talk about the money later. Let's talk about the director and the actors first." Chen Shiping narrowed his eyes and looked at Liu King, who was holding Chen Guojin's hand. He suddenly had a bad feeling in his heart. Could it be that Chen Guojin was going to be the director? If so, Chen Shiping would rather not have Liu King's investment. After thinking for a while, Chen Shiping said, "Let's not talk about the director first. Let's talk about the actors. I plan to let Jiang Wen play Zhu Sangun." As soon as these words came out, Chen Guojin's face changed immediately, and Liu King's face also flashed a trace of unnaturalness. "No, change someone," Chen Guojin said with great discomfort in his heart. Chen Shiping didn't even look at him, but locked his eyes on Liu King to see her reaction. Seeing that Chen Shiping ignored him, Chen Guojin frowned and said, "Change an actor, or I won't invest. You paid for it?" Chen Shiping didn't even look at Chen Guojin, but turned to look at Liu King and asked, "Can he represent you? Is this your opinion?" Liu King was a little annoyed at this time that she shouldn't have made the appointment tonight, or shouldn't have let Chen Guojin participate in this matter. She originally wanted to help Chen Guojin take down the director, but she didn't expect Chen Shiping to take out the killer weapon Jiang Wen right away. Now, the conflict has appeared before the movie has even started. Liu King didn't dare to think, if Chen Guojin and Jiang Wen really appeared in the same crew, would they fight every day? While Liu King was thinking, Chen Shiping added quietly, "Jiang Wen is the most suitable. His Red Sorghum just won the Berlin Film Festival award. It is so popular now. I can't think of anyone more suitable than him." Liu King was very conflicted. She knew that Chen Shiping was right, but now she had to consider Chen Guojin's feelings. After all, they have been together for 3 years and they are planning to get a certificate. Let's not talk about the actor issue for now. Liu King looked at Chen Shiping and said, "You are the producer, so you have to decide on the director." Chen Shiping pursed his lips and said, "Of course, many directors in the factory have told me that they want to shoot recently, but I haven't decided yet. This is the first time that the factory has independently produced a film. We must choose a capable director. I won't consider ordinary people." When Chen Shiping said the last sentence, his eyes stayed on Chen Guojin for a while before moving away. Liu King also understood what Chen Shiping meant, but she still wanted to fight for Chen Guojin. Guojin is also a very experienced director. What do you think? After Liu King finished speaking, Chen Shiping was silent for a long time. His eyes swept over Chen Guojin several times, and he seemed to be hesitant to speak each time. As the silence lasted longer, the atmosphere became more awkward. Chen Guojin felt that Chen Shiping's eyes were like knives. No, they were the kind of eyes that looked down on him. Chen Guojin couldn't help it a little bit, and looked at Chen Shiping and asked, "What do you mean by this?" "I'm just thinking about it. Why are you so anxious?" Chen Shiping glanced at him and said, "We won't invest." Chen Guojin couldn't help but said angrily. He couldn't control his anger from the moment he heard the name Jiang Wen. "Sister King, if you really don't want to invest, it's okay. I can find someone else to invest." Chen Shiping still ignored Chen Guojin, drinking beer and looking at Liu King. He believed that Liu King would not be as irrational as Chen Guojin. "This money is not yours, Chen Guojin. Why are you so excited? Besides, don't you know how much you weigh?" Not saying it to Liu King's face was enough to give face to Liu King. Liu King also understood Chen Shiping's thoughts. He looked down on Chen Guojin. "Guojin is joking. Since we have agreed to invest, we will not change our minds." Liu King looked at Chen Shiping and said, "This is a bit noisy. Let's go to the factory tomorrow to talk about it, drink and go dancing for a while." Chen Shiping smiled and said, "Okay, this occasion is indeed not suitable for discussing business." Naturally, he was not in the mood to drink and dance. Chen Shiping just drank 2 glasses to give Liu King enough face and took the initiative to say that he had something else to do and left first. Liu King even took the initiative to send Chen Shiping outside and said helplessly, "You did it on purpose tonight. Aren't you afraid that I really won't invest?" "I didn't. I really think Jiang Wen is suitable. Otherwise, think about which other actors are suitable." Chen Shiping paused and continued, "As for the director, my initial target candidate was Director Z. If Director Z didn't have time, I wouldn't consider others, but this standard can't be lowered too much." Liu King was speechless. According to ZTL's standard, Chen Guojin was not even qualified to carry shoes. "Forget it. Let's talk about it at the factory tomorrow." "Okay, but making a movie is not a child's play. It's not like buying a watch or clothes for a few $dozen to please people. It's better to think it over carefully." After Chen Shiping finished speaking, he said goodbye to Liu King. After returning, he felt that this matter was really difficult to handle. Pillow talk is still very powerful. What if Chen Guojin works hard tonight and Liu King regrets it? Now there are 2 ways for Chen Shiping. First, Jiang Wen should be decided first. It's just pillow talk. What's wrong with Jiang Wen? Second, find a new investor and kick Liu King out. It's not easy to be an independent producer. The movie hasn't even started yet, but there are so many problems. It's not as simple as it's written in the novel. It's shot in 1 sentence and the box office is 10 billion in 2 sentences. Liu King returned home late at night and just lay down to rest exhausted. Chen Guojin kept complaining beside him. What does Chen Shiping mean? He doesn't listen to you when choosing actors, and he doesn't listen to you when choosing directors. You don't help me speak. Do you also want to choose Jiang Wen? Are you still thinking about him? Liu King turned over and didn't want to pay attention to him. What Chen Shiping said was not unreasonable. The key to independent production is independence. If you don't even have this persistent and bottom line, what kind of producer is it? When Chen Guojin saw Liu King ignoring him, he suddenly got angry and thought of the grassland involuntarily. Do you want to find Jiang Wen to act? Or are you attracted to that pretty boy Chen Shiping? You look down on me too, don't you? Hearing Chen Guojin's words, Liu King also got angry, turned over and sat up, pointing at his nose and scolding. I have helped you shoot 2 movies. Which one did you shoot better? If you don't have the ability, don't make trouble. You said I don't have the ability? I'm making trouble? Jiang Wen and Chen Shiping are capable. You can go find them. Get lost. Godfathers, please support me and give me recommendation tickets and monthly tickets. Chapter 24 Assists are coming. Hachiko. Come back. In the early morning, in the Beijing Film Academy's family compound, Chen Shiping panted and shouted at Hachiko, who was running around happily. You can't walk your dog for a morning jog. Chasing a dog is exhausting. After finally catching Hachiko, Chen Shiping slapped it on the forehead. You can't do a backflip when I ask you to, but you learn quickly when you run wild. After putting a rope on Hachiko, Chen Shiping went to the guest house to have breakfast. There were quite a lot of things sold on the small breakfast stand, including fried dough sticks, candy boxes, etc. Do you want sugar in the soy milk? Chen Shiping turned his head and looked at Tao Human and asked. Tao Human shook her head, biting the soft dough stick, and asked, did you go to the crew to find me yesterday? I went to see Liu King. Chen Shiping didn't hide it on purpose. He took a sip of warm soy milk and explained, it's about the film funding. Tao Human said, oh, and pinched a small piece of dough stick to feed Hachiko. Hachiko drooled and stared at the fried dough sticks at his mouth, but didn't open his mouth. Chen Shiping took a look and patted his head and said, Hachiko, eat it, we are one family. After getting Chen Shiping's consent, Hachiko opened his mouth and ate the fried dough sticks and licked Tao Human with his tongue. Tao Human's palms were itchy from being licked, and she smiled and took her hand back and looked at Chen Shiping and asked, doesn't it eat food fed by strangers? Yes, it only eats food fed by our family. It will eat whatever you feed it in the future. Tao Human's face flushed. Is it considered one of our family? I didn't agree, and you didn't even say you wanted to be with me. Humph, you can't feed it in the future, otherwise you will think I agreed. Tao Human thought so, and grabbed another piece of fried dough stick to feed Hachiko. Good dog, eat more. Tao Human said happily, while touching Hachiko's head. Chen Shiping looked at this scene, and felt that Hachiko was not useless. If he can't do a backflip, then he can't do it. That doesn't matter at all. After breakfast, Chen Shiping said goodbye to Tao Human. She was going to the crew to film, and Chen Shiping went back to the factory to work. However, when Chen Shiping arrived at the door of the office, he saw Chen Guojin leaning against the door of the literature department with a haggard face and red eyes, like an abandoned puppy. Chen Shiping inexplicably thought of the time when he met Hachiko. Although he didn't understand what was wrong with him, he still walked over and patted his head, shoulder. Chen Guojin angrily slapped Chen Shiping's hand away and saw the pity in his eyes. He was even more angry. He didn't know who to vent his anger in his heart. He didn't dare to do it in front of Liu King, and he couldn't find Jiang Wen, so he could only come to Chen Shiping. These dogs all want to compete with him, and they all look down on him. Liu King also looks down on him. Chen Shiping looked at his hand that was slapped away and didn't care. He shrugged and said, come to me. Chen Guojin didn't know how to say it when he got to his lips. There were still many people watching around, and he didn't want to be a joke in other people's mouths. Jiang Wen was embarrassing enough for him. If Chen Shiping was rumored, he would be the most popular person in King Grassland. Not convenient to talk. Then change the place. Chen Shiping was in a good mood and had enough patience. Chen Guojin threw away the cigarette butt in his hand and said, come out with me. Okay. Chen Shiping was very curious about what Chen Guojin wanted to say to him. The two went out together under the gaze of their colleagues in the literature department. When they got outside, Chen Guojin said directly before Chen Shiping said anything, we won't invest in your movie. Stay away from her in the future. Chen Shiping couldn't help but raise his eyebrows and looked at him and said, did she say that, or did you say that? It's none of your business. Anyway, we won't invest. Oh. Chen Shiping looked at him and asked, so that's what you mean? You can make the decision for her. Chen Shiping's words were full of sarcasm. Chen Guojin's anger rose and he shouted, I'm her husband. What I mean is what she means. Have you got the marriage certificate? I heard that you haven't got it yet. You said that Sister King has been with you for 2 or 3 years. Why don't you get the marriage certificate? Chen Shiping looked at him with a smile and said, that's between me and her. Don't worry about it. Then the investment is also between me and Sister King, and you don't have to worry about it. Chen Shiping looked at him contemptuously and said, you're already worrying about other people's money before you get married. How shameless. What the hell are you talking about? Chen Guojin grabbed Chen Shiping's arm and wanted to do it, but before he raised his hand, he was pushed away by Chen Shiping. Chen Shiping straightened his clothes and snorted, "Don't be so incompetent and angry in front of me. If you have the guts, go and fight Jiang Wen. I can refuse the investment, but it's not your turn to talk to me. Know your own weight." Chen Shiping left after he finished speaking. He was just a scoundrel who relied on women for a living. Saying one more word would be a waste of saliva. Chen Guojin was not a good guy. Before the divorce, he flattered Liu Xiaoqing. He relied on Liu Xiaoqing to get him investment to make 2 movies, neither of which was successful. Chen Shiping couldn't even seize the opportunity. Chen Shiping was too lazy to say a word to such a person. The news that Chen Guojin came to see Chen Shiping soon spread. After all, everyone in the factory knew about Chen Guojin and Liu Xiaoqing's affairs, and everyone couldn't help gossiping when there was a slight movement. Liu Xiaoqing also heard these rumors after arriving at the factory at around 10 o'clock. He wanted to find Chen Guojin to scold him, but he couldn't find him. In the end, he had to find Chen Shiping. In the literature department, Chen Shiping was looking at the information of the director and actors in the factory and saw Xiaobing approaching and whispering, "Shiping, Liu Xiaoqing is looking for you, saying that she is waiting for you in the east building." Chen Shiping looked at Xiaobing, who was like a spy meeting, and couldn't help but rolled his eyes at him and said, "Why are you sneaking around like this? It seems as if I have an affair with her." Xiaobing smiled awkwardly, but in his heart he thought that he and Liu Xiaoqing must be unclear. Otherwise, why would Chen Guojin come to his door? Speaking of which, Chen Guojin was also confused by anger. How could he come to his office to find him? The more Chen Shiping thought about it, the angrier he became, and he really wanted to slap him. But this man is really unrefined. Later, he divorced Liu Xiaoqing and wrote a book specifically, which was enough to make him look down. Chen Shiping came to the east building and met Liu Xiaoqing. As soon as they met, Liu Xiaoqing immediately apologized for Chen Guojin and Chen Shiping and promised that the investment would not be cancelled. The director and the actor also let Chen Shiping be independent and fully responsible. Independent producers, isn't that what they come for? Otherwise, why would they be independent? They can just let the studio shoot the film. Chen Shiping looked at her and said, "Sister King, I won't say much about your personal life, but you must distinguish between public and private. If Chen Guojin comes to me again in the future, I will not be polite. Please think about the investment again. I don't want people to say that I want to destroy your relationship." Liu Xiaoqing showed an embarrassed look on her face, and she was also very troubled by Chen Guojin. When filming Furong Town before, Chen Guojin had found fault with Jiang Wen and made it known to everyone. Now he is finding fault with Chen Shiping again. This is already irrational. He is crazy about love and has lost his brain, right? Forget about finding Jiang Wen. That is a fact after all. But what's the big deal about finding Chen Shiping? Chen Shiping looked at Liu Xiaoqing's ugly expression and said nothing. This matter is probably more disgusting to her than himself, and he didn't know how the studio would spread it. Thinking of the rumors, Chen Shiping suddenly slapped his forehead. Did Tao Human hear it too? There was some progress this morning, but he didn't want things to go back to square one again. Chen Shiping didn't care about Liu Xiaoqing anymore, and immediately ran to the Grandview Garden to find Tao Human. On the way there, Chen Shiping even tugged at his clothes, ready to take the opportunity to play a victim. Maybe they'll hold hands tonight. Chapter 25 Disappointed Cabbage. In the summer, the Grandview Garden is really full of flowers blooming and competing for beauty. Chen Shiping always feels that his eyes are not enough when walking inside. This flower is really long, that one is so white, and this one is also good and big. Chen Shiping walked through the wind and rain corridor bridge full of actresses from the Red Mansion and reluctantly withdrew his gaze. The flowers in the garden are too beautiful. I really want to pick a beautiful flower and take it home to put it in the garden and enjoy it slowly. However, Chen Shiping dare not touch the flowers in the Grandview Garden now. If Zitili knew, he would break his legs. At least he couldn't touch them before the Red Mansion was finished. It's a pity that there may not be so many flowers next time. Some flowers have a very short flowering period. Brother Shiping, you are here. At the turn at the end of the corridor bridge, a beautiful purple azalea suddenly appeared in Chen Shiping's sight. Chen Shiping couldn't help but shudder again. Where did this little goblin come from? Chen Hong took small steps, and her long hair on her temples stuck to her cheeks, looking pure and lustful. The azalea described by Ko Zukin is a brave, sincere, thoughtful and intelligent image, but Chen Hong's azalea is more in line with the flower language of azalea. The joy of love belongs to you forever. But it doesn't make sense when you think about it carefully. This flower language also means to restrain desires, and Chen Hong doesn't mean to restrain herself. Chen Shiping looked at Chen Hong, who was walking over, sniffed his nose slightly, and smelled a faint fragrance that made people fascinated. Brother Shiping, are you here to see Sister Daiyu again today? Chen Hong deliberately teased with a way of speaking in the Red Mansion. This was because she carefully observed that Chen Shiping liked this tone very much. Chen Shiping nodded and said, "Are you filming now?" Chen Hong shook her head. Her eyes noticed Chen Shiping's collar and frowned and said, "Brother Shiping, why is your collar torn? Did Chen Guojin fight with you?" Chen Shiping was not prepared to reply, but when he heard her say Chen Guojin's name, he asked curiously, "How do you know Chen Guojin?" Chen Hong snorted and said, "The stager," and went back to get the film and spread it. "He spread rumors behind my back. It's so annoying." Chen Shiping. Good news doesn't go out, but bad news spreads 1,000 miles. It's just a rumor. I accidentally damaged my clothes. Chen Shiping explained casually, thinking in his heart that Tao Human might misunderstand. If he seizes this opportunity, he might be able to eat juicy cabbage in the evening. "I'm leaving first. Take your time to go shopping. See you later." Chen Shiping was about to leave after he finished speaking, but was stopped by Chen Hong. "It's hot now. They are all hiding to cool off. I'll take you there." Chen Shiping didn't doubt him and nodded and said, "Okay, then I'll trouble you." 5 minutes later, Chen Shiping looked at Chen Hong, who was walking in front of him, and felt that this girl was deliberately taking him for a walk. "Brother Shiping, look at the beautiful oleander over there." "Brother Shiping, the goldfish here are so greedy." "Brother Shiping, do I look good wearing this?" Brother Shiping is having a headache now. He just wants to eat some light cabbage, but the azalea is also beautiful, and it's also nice to plant it at home to enjoy. It's really a headache. Seeing Chen Hong's interest in sight, Chen Shiping hurriedly called her to stop. He had something to do today, and he didn't have time to accompany her to appreciate the flowers. On the one hand, he came to play pity for the cabbage, and on the other hand, he came to select actors. Although there are few female roles in Zusanguan selling blood, they are very important. Apart from Liu King, the heroine, there is also Zusanguan's first love. He must find someone who is more beautiful and charming than Liu King, otherwise how can she become the person Zusanguan can't forget? Chen Shiping and Chen Hong explained, and went to work. Looking at Chen Shiping's leaving back, Chen Hong felt a little frustrated. Looking at the red oleander, she suddenly felt a little envious. "I don't want to be Zijin, I want to be oleander, which is dangerous and attractive." On the other side, Chen Shiping found Zitili to inquire about the situation of the actors in the crew, to find out when the actors he liked would be finished. Zitili smiled and looked at Chen Shiping and said, "You guys are really easygoing. You just come to my group to select people." Chen Shiping chuckled and said, "The best looking actresses in the country are all here with you. If I don't come here, where else can I select them?" Zitili shook his head and asked, "Did Chen Guojin ask Liu King to find you?" Zitili didn't say those gossips and rumors, mainly because he didn't believe that Chen Shiping, who is so smart, could be blocked by Chen Guojin and beaten. "I guess so. I've sent him away." Chen Shiping said indifferently, "This guy can't take a good photo. I'm going to ask Shan Zhuangxiang. What do you think?" Zitili guessed that Chen Shiping would find him, and nodded without any surprise, and then asked Chen Shiping who he was going to find to play Zusangun. Chen Shiping scratched his hair and said, "Let's see if Shan Zhuangxiang is willing to take it. If he is not willing, I will find Li Zujian and let Li Zujian persuade him. What if he is willing? Then I will find Jiang Wen." Zitili is now completely confident in Chen Shiping's production ability. Such a person is born to be a producer. Taking advantage of the hot weather and the crew is still taking a break, Zitili called the actress over. Chen Shiping was also raised by him, so naturally he had to support her. After the actors who didn't know what was going on came over, they heard that Chen Shiping was going to cast, and their eyes lit up. Zhu Sangguan selling blood is now very famous, and it would be very helpful for their acting career if they could play it. However, Chen Shiping only chose 2 roles this time. One was Lin Fenfang, who Zhu Sangguan had been thinking about, and the other was Jinhua with a big butt. One was an important role and the other was a supporting role. Chen Shiping was attracted to Hachiko for the role of Lin Fenfang. This girl is really beautiful. He originally wanted to find Hachiko, but Hachico's facial features could not surpass Liu Xiaoqing, so he had to give up. Hachiko is very charming, but her facial features are not so delicate, and people will not think she is a beauty at first sight. But Hachiko is different. She is really beautiful. Master writer Chen. Oh, no, now I should call producer Chen. You are going to choose a few roles. Xiaoqing took the initiative to smile and joked, I have so many good sisters, you have to take care of them more. She also deliberately pushed Talhuman forward, but Talhuman didn't seem very happy, probably still caring about those rumors. Chen Shiping looked at Talhuman and locked his eyes on Hachiko and asked her directly if she was willing to play the second female role. Hachiko agreed without hesitation and didn't even ask who the director was or who the other actors were. For Hachiko, every opportunity to perform is very rare. She has not acted in many plays so far, and they are all small roles, far less important than the role given by Chen Shiping. She had watched Zhu Sangguan selling blood and knew that Lin Fenfang was the female character with the most important role besides Zhu Sangguan's wife. After Hachiko agreed, the other girls looked at her with envy. After congratulating her for a few words, they turned their attention to Talhuman. Hachiko was the second female lead, so the first female lead should be Talhuman. It couldn't be Liu Xiaoqing, right? Then the message from the factory would come true. When everyone thought that Talhuman would be the heroine, her eyes were dim. Because she knew that the first female lead was Liu Xiaoqing, she originally thought that Chen Shiping would ask her to play the second female lead, but unexpectedly he asked Hachiko. Talhuman forced a smile amid Xiaoqing's teasing and left on the pretext of feeling uncomfortable. Talhuman was disappointed. Chen Shiping also said that he would find a way to transfer her to the factory, but now it seems that it was just a lighter coax her. After all, the younger sister was just being sentimental. She might as well leave to avoid being an eyesore to her brother. Talhuman's excuse to leave puzzled everyone. They were not aware of the cooperation between Chen Shiping and Liu Xiaoqing and were all wondering. Chen Shiping did not explain so much to Talhuman and decided on the actors first. Under the gaze of everyone, Chen Shiping directly asked Hachiko if she was willing to guest star in the role of Jinhua. Although Hachiko could not play Lin Fenfang, she could play Jinhua, the big bad Jinhua that impressed Zhu Sangguan so deeply. Hachiko was very puzzled why Chen Shiping would look for her. Could it be that he had reduced her role in the previous revision of the Dream of Red Mansion script and wanted to compensate for it? However, when she recalled the description of the character of Jinhua in the novel, she immediately blushed. What does Chen Shiping mean? Is he saying that she has a big butt? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.